You're listening to IBNX. IBNXradio.com.
All right, everybody, welcome to this Friday edition of the Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardi Rice, and my correspondent,
Simone Cherie,
Kyle Andrew,
Double R,
and Shade.
All right, so once again, we have a full house. Shouts out to Jazz. She's out today getting ready for graduation.
Congratulations, Jazz.
She graduates on tomorrow, so shouts out to Jazz. She's out today. So, yeah, she hit me up today about graduation, and she's all excited and stuff. And I was like, yeah, enjoy it now. Because when Sally Mae starts knocking on your door in another week, his life is going to change dramatically.
Yeah.
But for the moment, we were so happy for her. So, and as you can see, Double R is back in the studio with us on today. And, of course, when he comes back, the world stops because he wants to have 50,000 conversations.
No, this is one conversation.
You know,
tell her she'll be all right if Bernie win, because, he said he's going to get rid of all student loans.
we were just talking about how Double R was right about Biden. I was looking at
Oh, God, y'all told him that.
Thank you.
This was like a month ago
Thank
or so,
you.
and we were talking about all the candidates. This was before the last 6 jumped in, and he was like, I just think it's going to be Biden. And look, the direction we're going.
And look at my guy.
Well, it's between Biden and Sanders.
No,
so
it's
we'll
still
see.
just
right
Biden.
now.
It's just
we'll see.
Biden.
Well, things can
it's
change.
not close. They're polling, but it's not close. They getting some money, but it ain't close. And if Biden picked this black woman that they keep talking about,
Yeah.
Who?
Abrams?
it's Stacey, and he just picked up the chick that
He
used to be.
picked up Simone Sanders, which is a big.
She used to be the
Bernie's.
campaign manager for Bernie. Why you leave?
She was his press secretary. Yeah.
Why you leave? That's the question I keep seeing. So why did she leave? Did she not believe in Bernie anymore?
I am really.
I mean, they have been
curious
waiting
about
around for, 4 years?
It don't matter.
That's
That
but
is
that's
kinda
your
weird.
guy though.
a hot minute to wait around.
That's your guy. It don't matter. If you run for president, I'm there. You
Yeah,
run again.
she has a
I'm
really
there.
high profile, so it is kind of weird. Because obviously, if she went back with Bernie, that would be, I think, really great for him. But I mean, the campaign jobs change all the time. In the same cycle, somebody can flip a ticket. But the fact that she's a really prominent voice now, so
And she
I did
left
think that was
to
interesting.
join another Democrat that's going against her guy,
Who?
Bernie. She joined Biden to go against Bernie. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That both of their names start with B's.
So today, right? Well,
Really?
today they're looking at Biden's 40%. He's pulling between 38 and 46%, so he's still number one. Sanders is in the high teens, and there's a big gap still between them and everybody else. But Warren and Harris are pretty close together. They're single digits, 5, 7, 8%. Buttigieg has fallen. O'Rourke is way down there. Booker and Klobuchar, et cetera, are increasingly down there.
I told y'all.
But,
I told y'all Cory Booker wasn't fit to do nothing.
Corey, look, the universe has gifted Corey numerous occasions. Corey does not know how to hold on to momentum.
Maybe he's enjoying Rosario Dawson, and they're just spending a lot of time together.
Y'all know what it is? Is that he's another bashful black guy. Like
Bashful?
Wait, what?
If he don't talk that much, but when he do, he always say something that you care about. But in this particular race, like, it don't care. Like, you need to stir up something. The Rosario thing didn't stir up anything.
No, it did stir up. He didn't know how to ride the wave.
It didn't. What did it stir up?
he did nothing with it.
We
There
was
was a lot of
angry
press
at
with that.
him
Yeah.
because we love Rosario. We don't care about what you're running for.
Yeah, but the fact he had
Rosario
her
is
platform.
ours.
Yeah, but he had her platform to share, and she was willing to get behind him and kind of be the wind beneath his wings. He didn't know how to carry the momentum.
He's
She's
never
gonna be the wind
he's
behind
never
his
been that
wings.
guy. He wasn't that guy in Jersey. Like, he
I do
wasn't
think it's
popping
kind of
like
if
that.
we're realistic, it's been a little unfair so far because again, name recognition goes a long way. So Biden's the last practically to announce, and he's number
And he
one. He
stole
was number one
all the
before he
momentum.
announced, which
Yeah,
is
but
a
the
little
man was
unfair.
VP for.
Well, yeah,
what,
but I
8
think the
years?
person working hardest in this race so far is Warren, and I think she's been working hard. She's one of the very few candidates. There's 20 plus that have all of their policy positions outlined on their website. Every single day, she's booked with doing stuff. She's working really hard. I think Buttigieg's working really hard, but it just goes to show name recognition goes a long
Okay,
way.
well, Buttigieg has a problem because Buttigieg has not tapped into the LGBTQ community like he needs to. Because if he did, this wouldn't even be an issue because they would get behind him and all the resources they have, he'd be like second or third if he really did this right.
But
So
Bernie-
once again,
Bernie is
You felt
supposed
it,
to be
yeah.
the guy with the black community, and you see his numbers.
Bernie.
We love Biden. Like, people love Biden.
I think Biden reminds people of Obama.
And that controversy,
that's what it comes down to.
with him, like, in the women, when more women that work for him came out, like, y'all got this man all the way. Like,
Yeah,
I just
women
watched the
jumped
chick,
to his defense.
Is it Elizabeth Jarrett? She used to work. She used to work for Obama, and she just came out with a book last week called "Finding Her Voice," and she told a story about when her dad died, and Biden was the first. And I told this story a while ago that she was the one that wrote that piece in the Times about when her dad died. He came and consoled her and grabbed her hands and pulled her real close and said, "You're going to be okay." I told that story months ago. She finally came out and showed her face. And then everybody realized she was a black woman. Because if you see her, she's really fairly light-skinned. But she black, though. She like a black woman, black. And we're starting to see, like, oh, y'all tripping. He ain't making y'all uncomfortable. Y'all just want to be on a different, want to be in a different place with Biden. And he really don't be on that. I see him hug somebody in public. Like, he hit him with, like, the embrace, like a dude, like a real embrace.
Well, he's old school, so that's how you did things in old school. The tight handshakes, the real hugs. He's old school.
I mean, I see him shake a black dude hand like how black people dap up. Wow. And that just took it to a whole nother level for me. Because Biden knew how to give dap. You don't assume old white men know
that
how
means
to give
a lot.
dap.
I mean, he hung around Obama for like 8 years. I mean, at this point,
he's 70.
You know that means a lot.
You don't assume
but
things.
Look at Bernie. Bernie 1,000, and all he talk about is black people when we ain't never seen him dap up a black dude.
True, but Bernie had to come around to that because you remember he had so when he was running as a candidate, there was a big moment for his campaign where people felt like, you know what, you're all over economic issues, you're the voice of the working class person, you believe in the $15 minimum wage, like, but you don't know race and you don't address race a lot. And two Black Lives Matter, the leaders of it, jumped on stage. He allowed them to take the mic. They took the mic and they said, Bernie, you need to learn about race. You don't know anything about race. And that's when he started really, really investing his time in that. But it brings you back to remembering he's a senator from Vermont. Vermont's about as black as snow. You know, he doesn't have a lot of experience with this. And I don't think he's had to before. No, not in his legislative career. Like, he was known for protesting the Vietnam War and for standing up for abortion rights.
He wrote it.
Biden really champagned it and supported it. But the 94 crime bill did not have as much to do with. I'm talking about racial discrimination. I'm talking about the disparities in our health services that's always
mortality
been my argument
rates. With you about Bernie, like, if Bernie been doing this work for 35 years, he's been a face. Like, from when he had the scraggly hair like a doctor to now it's just weirdly bald in the middle. He's been doing the work that long, and he's been talking about, we need to help black people. We need to do this, but you haven't done anything. You've introduced 16 bills over the last 30 years, and none of them passed. Why?
He's very extreme. Like, Biden's more universally loved, and he's more moderate. Bernie is very far over there. Which
like, he all the way left.
He is, and he's also very polarizing as a person. Like, people don't just love Bernie. Like, you either love Bernie or you hate Bernie because he has that kind of a personality. Like, he's not...
He's very George Bush-like. Like,
he's very Trump-like in that way.
You either like him or you don't. Like, with Trump, it's like, no, I don't like bro. With Bush, he would say something, you like, he seemed cool.
Yeah,
like, Trump is the dude, like, if you play, like, the way that people explain Trump, if you play golf with him, you'll love him. They don't say you like him, they say you'll love him. With Bush, like, you either like him or you all the way hate him. With Bernie, you see it, you even see it with his constituents. They don't like bruh. How you all the way left and you haven't passed anything with the left?
That's true. He's just been a voice.
How you do that?
He's just been a voice for what they believe in.
Well, here's the better question, though. So let's get on the other side of the election, whoever wins. The reality is Trump has broke the mold. So now there's kind of this expectation, or I feel like there's going to be this expectation of whoever comes after him has to be kind of like this democratic dictator, in essence. Like, Trump has such a strong presence. It's like, Biden I like, but I don't know if Biden can run the country. Like, I like him, but I don't know if he's that
it's
dude.
It's going to come down to somebody that can get in there and do the work. You're going to have to Obama it. You're going to have to do the work. Don't say much until it's time for you to say something and do the work.
I miss that.
That's the reason why
I miss the president that I didn't hear from every day.
Yeah, but I don't. Yeah, but if that has become the new norm,
But it
My
doesn't have
fear is
to-
that's going to be
It
the
doesn't have to be.
expectation.
Not for
you
us.
Can, when this will become
Who's
a new
us?
norm.
Black people.
No,
That is not
we
the
don't live in the
norm.
world.
When this will become a norm is if Trump is reelected and we get another 4 years of it. This could very well become just a blip in time that everybody pretends didn't happen. It could be just like
This could be Reagan.
Oh my
Real
god.
it
quick.
could go away. It could go away.
Yes.
It doesn't have. This doesn't have to be a new trajectory unless he's
This could
reelected. If
be
he's
Lyndon
reelected,
Johnson,
it will prove that.
Ronald Reagan
This could be
2.0.
Dwight Eisenhower. Like, oh, he was president? Really?
Very
Dang, that's
because very
crazy.
few one-term presidents have changed the course of the country. Usually, it takes 2 terms to complete a project, to carry it out. Which former President Obama said all the time. He's like, he couldn't get health care done the first term. There's a lot you can't get done the first term. I think if Trump has another term, he'll get his wall,
Yeah.
and the country will be in a very different place. But
Name the last
there's still a
president
chance
that
to
got
move this
something done
back.
first term. I can name 2. I can't name more than that. First term.
What gave Bush his whole thing was 9/11, because he was polling lower than Trump is polling now, but that became what defined his presidency. And at the time that he wanted to go to war,
just
everybody
became
was on board
radical.
with it.
He became
Everybody.
radical, and everybody was like, "Oh, we about to
you
go
need 2
fight."
terms.
Bet.
Because 9/11 was pulled up every 9 seconds.
But the
Yeah.
last time we saw that particular thing happen was 1992, when Bill Clinton became president.
Yeah.
Oh, y'all just finna pull up and shoot? Oh no! So
Go
this is
for it.
what we're gonna do. We're gonna go fight. And then Clinton won. But the last time we seen a first-term president actually get something done and stayed alive to actually see it, like that was alive to see it.
Well, Obama with healthcare.
Obama,
although
before him, it might have been NASA. That bill that started NASA started with Eisenhower. Right after Eisenhower, we get somebody in the sky, they say, but
so
Kennedy didn't live to see it.
True.
You know what I'm saying? He didn't live to fulfill the work. A lot of things got done while he was there, but he didn't live to fulfill it until the end. Clinton got it done. Obama got it done. Like, they actually got bills passed. And it didn't happen until the end.
yeah, and
like-
I think it would be good also. We have to think about the next generations that are coming up and the fact that Gen Z and everybody who's becoming eligible to vote. I would love for them to see that a president doesn't typically contradict
you.
himself
Presidents don't retweet
in the
you.
same day. Like, he's not typically learning on the job at the level that our current president is having to learn on the job.
He's
Like,
like
this
a fifth
is not
grader.
normal.
He is like a 5th grader. He repeats things that other people say, and he try to say it a little bit smarter, like he know what he talking about. And you like,
Yeah,
shut up
presidents don't
before I-
typically
before
call
I
out.
spank you.
Yeah,
Like,
they don't typically call out certain reporters and tag them in their correspondence. They don't typically give the hand to people at press conferences and move on to the next.
I mean,
You
we
know.
know these things, but I say if this defined, let's say you're in 11th grade, and by the time his 4 years is up, you're in the working world. Like, that's a significant part of your
It is.
development.
It
But
is.
that's
So
why
that's what you
this-
come to know.
this particular election, this is about to be very similar to '08. It's about to be one of the largest voting pools ever, where the most people
And most
can
of them
vote
are
at the
young.
same time.
Yeah.
You got they said it's about to be 300,000 new voters, and at least half of them are prisoners that finally got their right to vote again. So you're talking about 150,000 more people that can vote. And by the time the election comes, we're probably talking about another 200,000 people that will be able to vote by then. He ain't got it right now. Trump don't got it. Trump got it with the Republicans, because who gonna beat him?
Right.
That's the problem. Nobody's talked about any Republican candidates. It's just
No,
like,
not
yo,
really.
it's too many Democrats.
But he's finally starting to drop in the polls to where nationwide he was still at like 45, like high 40s, and now he's finally in the low 40s. So I think there's a few things contributing to that, but that's why this is so important, because all of this has to do with the Electoral College
Right.
and with the primaries, like who ends up becoming the Democratic guy in the primaries. And maybe that's why Simone Sanders felt like, you know what, Bernie doesn't have the same chance that Biden has, and we need to get Trump out. A lot of people, I think, who before felt like we want Trump out, but we're torn between Hillary and Bernie, I think now they're like, no, let's just get him out.
Yeah, they
Whoever
making a
will
choice.
get him out.
They stand
And so
to
maybe
it
that's why
early.
she went that way. But if we could sidestep to gerrymandering, because there's been a big update on this for this week in Ohio. Ohio is a swing state. It's a very important state. It's a state that a lot of people will be campaigning in. All the all the Democratic candidates have already made a stop there. So a federal court ruled at the end of last week to toss out Ohio's whole congressional map. So for clarity, this is basically the lines that define who you're going to vote for to represent you in Washington. In Ohio, that's a really big deal. They basically decided that there's gerrymandering and illegal partisan advantages going on the Republican side to reduce Democratic votes and basically predetermine the election. So the way that they cut up their map in really squiggly lines in very arbitrary places. They basically had a 3-1 lead over Democrats already, which means
Really?
that yes, it was that egregious. So 2020 was already decided by the way they cut up this map. And that's why the court's thrown it out. So they've thrown that out. They've also strucken down the maps that were in North Carolina, Maryland, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Maryland. These were all Republican gerrymandering states. Now, Democrats do this too. They just haven't done it as successfully, in the last couple of years. 2018 was a big Democratic year, but before that, it just hasn't been a lot. So the Supreme Court is going to rule on this year. Last year they sidestepped getting involved because the way that our country is laid out, we want states to make decisions for themselves. We don't want the government telling people how they can draw their maps and who they can have representing them where. But states are doing a lot of rigging, and people don't pay enough attention to their local elections as they need to know that they're being basically undercut and their votes being diluted.
So they're being herded wherever they want them to go so that they can get what they need to get.
Pretty much.
I don't know. It's just funny the way the world has turned. It's just like now we're just blatant with stuff. Because I said it once, I'll say it again. This whole Stacey Abrams and Brian Kemp thing, it was blatant. The man pretty much said, I'm going to do what I want to do. You can't stop me. I'm winning. And that's what it is. And that's what it was. Like,
said the same thing. Yo, my man's getting in the Supreme Court. Bet.
Yeah.
That same thing Trump said. Bet. I bet $100 million. Bet me $100 million that he won't get in. And then he got in. Bet $100 million he won't beat the case. Then he got. Look, we're watching they say that, like, they keep saying it's the evolution of America that it's supposed to get better and this and that. And then they discuss because they've been talking about gerrymandering for the last 5 years. I never knew they was gonna do something about it until I kept seeing, like, on Instagram and Twitter, like, they keep talking about trying to get rid of the electoral college because it don't make sense that certain states has more college voters than other. Like, that don't make sense. Why wouldn't it just be a general election and you just count like that?
Right.
Like in Europe, but they get to pick their general election, so they can go 2 years and not have an election, and then on the third year they can tell you the week before the election, we're having an election next week. And I thought that was fake until I watched the dude tell his story where he said, no, I'm going to announce in August so I can run in 2020. All I have to do is announce the week before. The election will be the very next week, and if I win, I get to set the next date for election. Now, America will never be like that, but if you actually count general elections, like, everybody go vote, and we just gonna count that, and you eliminate the electoral college, it'll change the course of the country.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like, it'll make more sense. Like, now we get to actually see our votes matter, and that'll kind of it'll make people pay more attention.
I think so too. And then that's another reason why, unfortunately, we probably have to have a federal rule or a constitutional rule about state elections. I just think we have to. I don't think there's a way that we can say, okay, each state can run it the way they want to run it, because there's been too much corruption. Like in Florida, in Georgia, which Georgia is crazy because this is not even a place that usually there's that much contention. But like just across the country, there's been either gerrymandering issues or polling purges or voter suppression. There's just too much going on without enough oversight that I really do think we're going to have to amend the Constitution to get rid of the corruption. It's going to have to come from the top, unfortunately, because people can't govern themselves.
At some point, yes. I have to
Yep.
agree. So what is on the rundown? We didn't even get the rundown. What's on the rundown?
So we've covered a lot already. So I want to talk about vaccines a little bit more.
Yep, because she's finally on my side. Because I've been saying this a long time.
There's always
Which
updates.
is what?
Stop putting them shots in your babies.
Absolutely.
We're gonna talk, so we can get into vaccines and into we're really into the measles outbreak and what you can do about it in different states and what's coming out. This purported outbreak, justice reform and new strides that Kim Kardashian has taken on that front, and the heartbeat bill, because there's been a recent. Just was signed. It passed. We talked about it when it passed, but now it's been signed. And there's some new developments that have come up as far as implications for how bad this might actually get. Criminal implications, for anything down to miscarriages to intentional or legally induced abortions. There's a lot that I don't think people really considered, because the language of the bill is stark, but there's a lot of language that's not in the bill. And that's where a lot of the problems come from, too.
It, I laughed. And then when I seen what that lady said in Texas, I was like, y'all want to pass this for real?
Yo, that would be mad funny.
Like, men, y'all sure y'all want to do this? Because if this pass in Texas and it make its way to us in Georgia, men going to be mad. They going to be mad. Like, nah, we're going to put a tracker on you. We're going to talk about it because it's crazy. It's funny.
It's a lot of big headlines this week.
All right, so where y'all want to start?
Okay, so
Let's start with that bill.
the heartbeat bill.
Get into it for real.
Okay, that's okay. Let's do that. So the heartbeat bill, we all know the heartbeat bill passed in Georgia. The heartbeat bill, basically, I'll give the background. It was modeled after legislation from a group called Faith to Action. It's the nation's largest network of pro-family, pro-life groups. And based on that piece of legislation, essentially, if a patient is seeking an abortion, a doctor has to use standard medical procedures to determine whether or not the fetus has a heartbeat. If any heartbeat is present, the doctor is prohibited from performing the abortion unless it will save the mother's life, one, or two, cause a significant and substantial irreversible impairment of a major bodily function, which is like very detailed and very specific. So,
and that's something they can't tell at 6
Does the
weeks.
psyche count?
right. So 6
even
weeks
more
has been considered the general time in which you cannot have an abortion after that date, because there are procedures in which at 6 weeks some level of cardiac activity is detectable. There's also different ways to do pregnancy tests. At 12 weeks, if you're using a urine test that you buy at a CVS, I don't know that. Obviously, you can't detect heartbeat that way. But in a medical setting, you're going to usually do an ultrasound. And that could be a vaginal ultrasound. Like, there are different types of ultrasounds. But 6 weeks has been called the bill. Really, it's about the heartbeat. So anytime they can detect a heartbeat is when technically that doctor can't perform an abortion, or they can face up to 10 years in prison. The thing is, so Georgia's is a little bit different. When groups like this, like Faith to Action, when they go around and they create legislation, and they really put a lot of money to pass it in as many states as possible. And it does tend to look a little different in every state. So there are some states in which women are penalized for going around the doctor route and having their own abortions. So there are over-the-counter pills that are said to induce abortion, even if they're meant for something else. And in some states, those are being criminalized. In Georgia, there's no language about that. So if a woman does end up causing her own abortion, whether accidental or intentional, there's no rules about that. But Georgia has said that a fetus is a fully legally recognized person. So technically you'd say, okay, well, if this is a person, and if by any actions you ended the life of that person, you would be criminally liable, even if it's something like neglect, misdemeanor.
It's a murder charge.
A murder charge, depending on what the circumstances are.
No, it's a murder charge. They put it in. It is a murder charge.
Yeah.
To have an abortion.
It's a murder charge.
It would be a murder charge, or and there's more to that, right? Because murder is not just for the person who pulled the trigger, quote unquote, for lack of a better word. So if you are someone who drove the woman, you could be considered
an accessory.
Conspiracy to, accessory, or party to. If you are the person who paid for it. If you are,
the person that sold it.
Yeah, murder has lots of ties. The doctor, maybe even another physician, attending physician. I mean, just it would really go as far as murder goes, which in one murder case, there could be 20 potential defendants or 20 people who are charged. So it's everything that would lead up to that abortion, because we would make a fetus a legally recognized person. Now, Georgia does allow for rape or incest exemptions.
Oh, okay. Well,
those would have to be proved.
We'll take what we can get.
I think what I imagine is that there's going to be an increase in rape charges.
Dang.
That's what I imagine.
Rape charges or rape allegations?
Charges.
No, rape charges.
Because what I would imagine is that, well, it has to be proved. And I would imagine that if there are women who do not want to have children, which 86% of abortions are by women who are unmarried, and they really need to get rid of this pregnancy, they may throw boy under a bus.
They're going to throw a charge on you.
So I'm imagining that there would be an uptick in rape claims if this is the only way that they can get an abortion.
Because I forgot the lady's name in Texas. Well, this happened the first time when they was talking about this bill last year and the year before last, where the women was like, well, if you're going to force something like that on women, men, they should track sperm. Like they're saying there should be a way for, So if a man purposely gets a woman pregnant and she doesn't want that pregnancy, that should be a charge, a felony charge. If she's forced to have an abortion, so instead of her getting the charge, he gonna take the charge. It's at least 5.5 million sperm every time a man does his thing. 5.5 million. That's a lot of children. The estimate numbers would say that it'll take 15 men to repopulate the earth. That's what they say. I think it'd be a little bit more, but if you're talking about 5.5 million young men and women every time I do my thing, they saying that every time you do your thing by yourself, it should be a charge because you're killing 5.5 million people. Now I laugh because it was funny, but now this heartbeat bill passed. I'm like, I hope they don't try this for real, because you're gonna have to take me to jail because you're not about to track my joints, bro.
Yeah, I just wonder how they're gonna enforce something like this. Like,
You're
how
not
can
about
they
to-
enforce it? How can they? prove that an abortion was attempted rather than that somebody miscarried? That's what I get really concerned and confused about.
And it's about to be the same thing with the rape charges. How can you prove rape?
Right. And even when they can't prove it, somebody loses. Either the person who was accused of it and didn't do it, or the person who it did happen to who couldn't prove it. Like, somebody loses.
And
so
it's about to bring back that point where we talked about it with the Kavanaugh case. What will that look like if a woman accuses a man of rape and it was consensual and he pressed charges and she lose? So now you about to go to jail for more years because now you had an abortion because you claimed that it was from rape, but you had an abortion and it wasn't rape. You just wanted to have an abortion. That's 10 years. That's a murder charge. Now you've also falsely accused somebody of rape. That's another 5 years. That's 15 years because you just wanted to get rid of a baby. Yeah. That's about to be disgusting out here in these streets.
And for abortion, it can go to the extent that somebody's like, okay, so say someone says they had a miscarriage. If a friend or if a neighbor or if a nosy MF just decides to say, no, I heard her talking about abortion, I think this was an abortion, then what? That person's going to face charges, then have to go through an investigation.
So y'all basically saying this is going to turn into a witch hunt.
I think because you cannot prove why. Miscarriages are very common. There's no woman whose reproductive system works who will reach 30 without having one miscarriage. It just happens. It happens all the time.
And if you look at the numbers, it's like bad.
Having to prove that it was a miscarriage and not an abortion, I don't know how they possibly think they're going to. And really all they've done by outlawing legal abortions is they've basically opened the door for self-induced abortion. It's going to be a lot of women throwing themselves down staircases. Because there's just, if they can't go to a hospital, what other alternative is there?
Well, we'll go back to the infamous hanger days where people start trying to do their own abortions.
I mean, listen, to me, it's not even about the issue. It's just about, unfortunately, and this is my personal opinion, is that when you open doors like this, you really can't close them without doing a lot more harm to liberty than you intend to.
Oh, there's a lot more doors about to open. Somebody about to kick them doors open. And it's about to be...
Okay, so on that depressing note, we're going to take our first break, and when we come back, we'll have more of this and other current events on the Leadership Blend with your host, Bryce.
Time isn't right.
Friday edition of the Leadership Lane with your host Ricardi Rice and my correspondent
Simone Cherie.
Carl Andrew.
Double R.
And Shade.
All right, so when we left, we were talking about this amazingly, I don't know what the word is for this new heartbeat bill that just got passed in Georgia. So what were we saying?
We were going over statistics. So, like, I was talking about the fact that Georgia has passed a bill that I don't understand their priorities for.
It's about the same now.
I don't know what year. So abortion statistics. I wanted to go into statistics, and obviously, so there's lots of major different sources for this. The CDC is a big source for this. Pull this from somewhere else. The Guttmacher Institute has a lot of statistics for this. Planned Parenthood releases their own statistics. They're the largest provider of abortion services. They do have studies every year that they release. Traditionally speaking, I'll say traditionally because I have numbers from 2014 from the CDC. All right. Among women, among white women, 10% of pregnancies 10% of pregnancies currently end in abortion. This is 2014. Among black women, 28% of pregnancies ended in abortion. In 2014, the states that had the highest rates of abortion percentage, not population, just the percentages, were D.C. at 38%, New York at 33%, New Jersey at 30%. And the lowest abortion states were Utah and South Dakota and Wyoming with 5 and 4 and less than 2% respectively. So this is abortions for pregnancies. And obviously 38% in D.C. versus 2% in Wyoming. That's a very big difference.
Yeah, because what else you going to do?
Black women were 3.5 times more likely to have an abortion the next year in 2015 than white women. And I think there are studies as well that document the fact that Planned Parenthood centers or free clinics are typically more common in areas where there are more black people.
Downtown.
Right.
Well,
so that could have
people
something to do. I mean, I feel like Georgia's not on the list of the highest. It's on the lowest. But
It's in the middle.
I don't understand why Georgia cares so much about.
Because of the birth rate being so low in Georgia. Like, it's a low birth rate right now in Georgia.
Okay, that's true.
And to stop all the fiendish things that are going out
But,
here.
but then
What?
it'll bring all those things back to this. It usually ends in a race conversation because
That's what I'm trying to understand. Like, if black women are having abortions just as much, if not more, than white women, then what are they worried about?
Because we're talking about the birth rate of white women right now in the country is a lot lower than the birth rate for black women in the country right now. Even though black women are having more abortions, white women are having more miscarriages, so they're not able to have more children. But we getting rid of, like, how does the bill don't fit y'all for real? Because y'all abortion rate not that high. It's 124 per every 1,000 pregnancies versus black people
high.
is 444
That's very
abortions per 1,000 pregnancies. So we're talking about almost 3 times more abortions than you. So how does this affect you if y'all not having that many abortions?
We just need to bring more people into the conversation. Like, we need to bring Hispanic women into the conversation. We need to bring Asian women into the conversation. I'm pretty sure that their birth rates are outpacing anyone else's birth rate.
in the country.
Hispanic women.
Do you think so?
Yes, absolutely. Their population has doubled since, okay, so the Hispanic population doubled between, I think, 1970 and 2000, more than doubled. So across the country. So I don't understand how, if anybody's worried about population control for
But
black
that's how
women.
If you see their numbers double in that type of rate, that would
Our numbers have stayed the same. The black population has still been between 13 and 50% of the national population since 1902. It's almost 2020. For over 100 years, we have not gone up. We really have not.
Yeah, but
and
we know why.
I'm not saying this doesn't have a lot to
We
do
know
with
why.
it, but
We know why.
it's not. We're not the threat.
I be saying it all the time. Like, we know
If
why.
there's a threat,
Why?
which I don't think there is.
The numbers cannot be right. Like, somebody got to be skewing.
I believe 'em.
No, I'm just saying somebody got to be skewing these numbers because if we've been in this country for assuming 400 or 500 years, right? Slavery, 200 and some change, and then Jim Crow, another 100 and some change. So you're talking about since freedom, which is 40 years old, our rates, we haven't grown in 40 years.
I believe it.
Since freedom. 1968, maybe 60. We haven't grown in 40 years. So our numbers been the same. So we've been 17.5 million people since 1900.
No, I think we're like in the 30 millions or so.
The way they be talking, like, this number so low. It's 300.
It's unusual for a population of people to be
So
stagnant.
we're 10% of the population. That don't make sense to me. It's 300 plus
That makes
million
sense.
people in America, and we're
Yeah.
10% of the population.
Yeah.
We were brought here in droves.
Yeah.
Like the numbers was ridiculous.
That didn't mean we survived. How many people
Slavery,
lost
Jim
that?
Crow,
Wait,
But
health,
even
and
when
health
you're
and lack of
talking about
access to health
the
care.
numbers in which we were brought here and the numbers in which they came here
Does not
is
compare to Brazil,
staggering.
though.
It's staggering. It don't even make sense. So if you're talking about over the last 100 years, because don't forget they came here sick. Either we didn't make it or we got here. They came here sick already. So when they got here, they died. And when they met other people that was already here, they died. We didn't. They had to kill us. So it ain't like we either died on the way or we made it.
But Double R, you got to remember, like, during the slave trade, I mean, like, yeah, we had a bunch of Africans coming in, but compared to Brazil and compared to the other places? Because, I mean, if you're talking about, like, a place like Brazil, because you got to remember.
Yeah, I mean, they got 3 times the population, like 3 times. So whatever they brought here, they took 3 times that to Brazil, to South America. 3 times that over there. But you can't tell me that 5.5 million people made it here, and we
barely doubled.
30
Yes, you
million of
can
us.
because slavery and Jim Crow. So, okay, just look at death rates. I'm looking at death rates with the CDC, and this is a couple years old again. But black people highly outpace white people and Hispanics, which are the only 3 races surveyed, for death rates. We die way more than they do on an annual basis. And so if we abort more than they do, if we die more than they do.
But how much of that is natural?
I don't know.
How much of that is
but it's
like
death.
People
Yeah, but I
get-
say we're not looking
So
at the
the
circumstances.
population-
We're talking about the results.
No, I have no doubt that there are circumstances. No doubt. That's not a question. But if Hispanics are dying lower, Hispanics are at the lowest of this list in terms of annual death rate. So if they die less than whites and blacks, and they populate more than whites and hello.
Then
The
how are
browning of
their-
America.
But how are
the
their,
browning of
how
America.
are their numbers not like? That's what I'm saying. So there are people here before us, right?
Yeah.
Right. So half their population was wiped out.
Mm-hmm.
What was left of their population was the population of people that came here that wasn't black. So you're probably talking about 500,000 white people. 500,000 white people turned into almost 250 million people
Well, let me read this theory to you. So
over the last 250 years.
So the National Center for Health Statistics had a theory about this. It said Asian and Pacific Islanders and Hispanics have much lower mortality rates than would be expected based on their socioeconomic status. Their advantage is really apparent with the leading causes of death, which are still heart disease and cancers. They just, I guess, don't contract them at the same rates that whites and blacks do. They said one factor contributing to good health could be the immigrant advantage, quote unquote. Several studies have shown that international immigrants tend to be particularly healthy and optimistic individuals with better diets, more positive health-related behaviors than their assimilated counterparts. So Asians and Hispanics do have a higher proportion of recent immigrants than whites and blacks. So I also think it could be a question of just Americanization, that if these are recent immigrants, which black people are in large part are not recent immigrants, we're not immigrants at all, but recent, and neither are whites. I mean, we're talking Plymouth Rock. Like that's old. So if these are recent immigrants, they're saying that could be an advantage, but they said there's no clear explanation for the paradox, but it is very true that Asians and Hispanics do tend to live longer, healthier lives.
But that still don't prove the bill at all. Because if it's so many of y'all, like you would assume like that y'all like at least decently populated. Like somebody having some babies. Especially in Georgia. Somebody having some babies. 444 pregnancies out of 1,000 pregnancies are aborted by black people. It's only 100 and some change by white people. So what are y'all looking at when you do those numbers? Especially when you look at states that have very, very low abortion rates. So what are you looking at? Because this will spread, and it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be bad. Like, what would they do when it's turned into something else?
Right.
I'm listening to y'all, and I'm just trying to figure out. There is no focus or no angle for. I mean, what's the reason for the bill? What's the problem that they're trying to solve?
And
They want abortions to stop. They said they want to save the lives of babies. That babies are babies the second they exist in the womb,
Because
and that we can't
now
abort
it
them.
sounds to me like they're just trying to tell people what to do.
Yep.
And my issue with abortion is just like how people just abuse the free will that they have. That's my issue, but that doesn't sound like that's the issue at hand at all.
What do you mean the free
Yeah.
will that they have?
Just I'm pregnant this week, so I just want to abort it and I don't want it. So
Well,
I'm just-
if that was the issue, they could say, well, you get one abortion. It could be like a lottery system. You get one.
well, that makes
You
sense.
only
to
get
me.
one.
But that's
a
not what
year.
they're saying.
Like, you
They're
get
Who's
one
banning
a
going to
year.
regulate?
One in a lifetime.
Who's going to enforce and this is
I'm
ridiculous.
just saying.
Who's going to enforce
If
and
it's
regulate
about
this?
abuse, they
That's
can
what-
stop
government.
abuse.
That's why you see other countries impose laws like that. So, like in Asia and India, depending on where you are in the country, especially in Asia, and it's very prominent in Asia and Japan, that quota that they used to have, they
Birth
have
rate.
over 1.7 billion people in Asia. Specific to China, not because it's a billion people in India. That's also Asia. But we're talking about like China you talking about over 1.7 billion people. That's larger than most of the population over here
That's the majority of the
by a lot.
population.
It's 1.7
Yeah.
billion people, and they had a quota. 2 children, 1 boy, 1 girl. If you have 2 boys, that's all you getting. You have 2 girls, then you got to kill one of them because you got to have a boy to keep that name going. You had
They would
they had a
allow-
quota. So you're talking about a country that had a quota for 150 years, and they outnumber the population of most continents alone. And that's one country. That's not including India. India, that's because people forget like India is Asia. All of that is Asia, but India is big enough to be a continent on its own.
Is this true?
Subcontinent.
And they have 1.2 billion people in their country. They outnumber America and Brazil combined. They outnumber Europe, America. Like those numbers are staggering. It's only 300 million people here. If they wanted to fight us, they would win. It's disgusting. They imposed a
I
quota.
learned a new word.
I'm just saying they imposed a quota, and their birth rate kept going. Like it just kept going. Like everybody
Yeah,
kept
but
getting
look at how
pregnant.
savage that was. That they had to knock on people's doors and say, "Hey, you got any?
2
you got-
kids,
you got
and
too
that's
many?"
it. 2 kids.
And-
you have more than 2 kids. We got,
they
you got to show up. Somebody
And they
going
would
to jail.
induce abortions for women if the woman was pregnant and they had already reached their limit. It was really heinous. So that's not what we
it was
want
bad.
either.
It was bad, but 1.7 billion, 300 million, and we're
Look.
complaining.
Well, again, my fear is though, and we see this a lot when stuff gets out of hand, is stuff is made a law, but nobody enforces it until it becomes convenient,
Yeah.
or until it becomes
Oh,
something we can
yeah.
use to our advantage.
Or
Now
it
we're going to enforce it, and that's the part that people forget. Whatever goes down in legislation can be enforceable at some time, and it may not be in your subconscious now, but at some point it will manifest when it benefits somebody who's trying to achieve some kind of objective.
And I
So
do-
that's my only thing.
I do
Amen.
think it's going to be bad on both sides. I think that for women that get pregnant that will say that will use that rape out, it's going to be bad. I also think it's going to be bad for women that keep those children, that don't want those children with those men. You're about to see child support go through the roof. It's going to go through the roof. Because imagine how many women right now trying to get child support for a dude. You're going to be forced to do it because I'm having a baby that I don't want. I don't want this baby. You going to make me have this baby? He finna pay me for it.
Well, ideally, and that's been the argument for pro-choice people all along, is for a lot of them, is that you don't have enough public resources to make sure that all these children reach this earth anyway.
Yeah, you trying to
don't
cut 'em down,
have
that's
enough
it.
to keep them here.
Especially
So-
with you just cutting snap like that last year.
Right. So we're cutting down all the resources and then increasing all of the. Well, I don't even know
Baby.
what you call
I
it.
think Trump gonna do it. Trump said
So
he got the check. So
another
we
thing
just
Trump is worried about is, and another reason that a lot of people are worried about deaths for children is the measles epidemic outbreak.
not an
Depending on who.
Which is scary. I'm like, I thought we abolished measles.
In
decades
2000, it was
ago.
declared as a non-issue.
There's a non-factor.
But the number of people who died of the vaccine between 2000 and 2010 are like a couple of hundred. There's cases of people dying from the vaccine, even when people weren't dying from measles anymore. So, and I think at that point, and that's when we saw rates of autism skyrocket now, but to where I thought there were 1 in 68 kids, but I think Double R had another source. And he said it's 1 in 36 kids
1 in
I know what
36
you're talking
children.
are born autistic, and this has all been hand in
white
hand,
community. The
yeah,
white community.
with the measles
The white
vaccine.
community.
Yeah, so it's,
Oh no, I was just making sound effects. I ain't gonna lie. Like,
it's
with
one
the
in
whole, like, skyrocketing.
1 in every 5 black children will be diagnosed as autistic, and 1 in every 36 white children
It's an insane amount.
that have been vaccinated
Yes.
will be
Yes, and so there's no evidence. There's
that
no
it
evidence.
causes autism.
But
Really,
the-
the correlation.
The correlation is not causation, but the correlation is enough for most people, a lot of people, to say, listen, I don't think I want to take my chances with this vaccine. But there's a
find out.
there's a study that's ranking counties to see who has the highest risk. The areas around Chicago, LA, and Miami top that list. Oregon, as of yesterday, just banned their exemptions. So there's been an opt out for years. If you had a religious or philosophical reason why you didn't want the vaccine, you've been able to opt out. But state after state after state is saying, like, listen, this is an epidemic. You're not allowed to opt out for religion anymore. So now we're getting into First Amendment situations where people are like, listen, I don't believe in vaccines. Like, even if you're Scientology, for one, community of Scientologists, there's Christian Scientologists who just do not believe in using medicine.
How close are we to them showing up
Is
at my
the
door
Nation
with
of
a thing needles?
Islam does not, in general, support vaccines. There's mercury in a lot of the measles vaccine, and President Trump has come out in opposition to his earlier statements, in which he was not in support of vaccines, to say this week that he does believe that we need to use the vaccine, but he thinks we need to space it out and not give infants, ridiculous amounts of the vaccine, that we should just really space it out because it is a lot.
And it's because of how many shots it is. So
Yeah, it's a 3 series
If you've ever,
shots,
if you've
right?
ever put a child in school, they gotta get 3 shots. All 3 of those shots is the same shot. They'll
Right.
tell you it's something different in every shot. It's the same shot.
So the
3
booster-
times.
So the booster shot is not.
I think you still get a booster. That's TB.
That's TB though. Like,
Yeah.
It ain't been a
but
case
measles
of TB
before
in our
89,
community
we talked
in
about this when you
years.
were gone, Double R. Before 89, you only needed 1. As of 89, they decided 3 was how many measles vaccines you needed. So now you're not up to date if you haven't had at least 3.
So that's
technically.
4 shots together. So you got a TB shot and then 3
Well, yeah,
other
but
shots.
there's more than that because there's rubella, there's
It's all the, I think they said it's almost
Chickenpox.
8 shots that you got to get
Yeah.
as a child
So
just
again-
to get in school.
How close are we to somebody showing up at my door with some needles? Somebody I got
Look,
to do it.
I think we close.
That's
think
my
we're close.
question.
The way they talking, it's about to be bad.
Because they've already quarantined people. This is, I think, going to come down to the state's Department of Health and what they want to do. In California, they've already decided, like they quarantined, I think, 200 kids because there was one outbreak in a school and so everybody else had to be quarantined. So if a school can quarantine you, if the health department can say you have to stay home and you can't leave your house until you get this vaccine,
Somebody's going to die 'cause it's not happening. It's
Then it
not
already
happening.
started then.
All right, y'all done gave me enough depressing news. I need some entertainment. Kyle, what you got? I need some entertainment. Y'all done give me enough depressing news
It's
for one
America,
day.
man.
All right, so I mean, Steve Harvey, he's under attack again. So I don't know if y'all saw the clip, but he went on a
Shout out
tangent.
to Steve Harvey for saying what he said.
What did he
Rich
say?
people don't
Well,
sleep.
let me
Yeah.
explain it to you. He went on a tangent saying that rich people don't sleep. This
And
is
that's not new.
exactly what he said. He said that's a third of your life. It's 24 hours in a day. You can't be sleep 8 hours of the day. You can't live in LA and wake up at 8 o'clock. It's 11 o'clock on the East Coast. That means the stock market has already been open for 2 hours. That's already making decisions. People are making decisions because you were sleeping. People on Twitter commented saying, I can't go to sleep because Steve Harvey told me not to.
Stay woke.
Somebody else said, black people do not let Steve Harvey hustle you into poor health. Get 8 hours of sleep. Let's let go of these cliched hustling creativity ways of the rich people.
You can stop. That's
Stay
the
woke.
woke.
Wait.
He's
Some
telling me to
people
stay
have
woke.
turned
Please keep on.
to science, saying that psychology and biology and things like that say that not getting enough sleep leads to obesity and heart disease and things like that. Me personally, I admire people like Steve Harvey. However, I completely disagree. You
Yeah.
need 8 hours of sleep because if I don't
Bye.
get my 8 hours of
Yeah.
sleep,
bye.
Need
I need my 8 hours of sleep.
Hold on. I thought this was an old quote, first of all.
Right.
it. This is.
I thought he
old.
said that, yeah.
I watched this episode.
Yeah, he said that years ago, I thought.
No, this was
No, this was a
Recent.
couple. It
That
was a
was
couple.
recent.
He said it a couple weeks ago.
I
But
remember
the
him
clip
saying-
just He said something like this when his book came out.
Okay.
A couple years
Okay.
ago. Like
So he is repeating himself because he's been.
successful people
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
we don't get to sleep. Like and he was telling the story like as a comedian, you're going from city to city to city to city to city to city to city on 2-3 hours of sleep, and you have to come up with material. You got to remember that material. You got to get on stage. You got to do meet and greets. It's a lot that you have to do. The problem is that you're talking to people that don't have dreams of doing any of that. You're talking to people that don't have dreams of doing that.
We can
any
take
of
a
that.
commercial break right there.
Because Kyle, you got to remember, you have dreams of doing something bigger than this. When
Yes.
you get there, you think you're gonna get 8 hours of sleep? It don't work like
no,
that.
but I think I should be able to. How do I want to say this?
Don't go crazy over it.
Because
Explain this
watch
outrage. What's up with the
You know,
outrage?
it is a difference between sleep and rest.
Okay.
I can rest in 4 hours of sleep. I usually don't rest with 8 hours of sleep.
But I can't effectively do my work if I'm not, I haven't slept.
So you do know that news doesn't the day before that you report the news, that the day before that don't end till 12 o'clock.
Yes.
So if news happens at 12 o'clock and you got to report on it at 10 o'clock, you got pre-production. Like say Kyle, you get a show. Say we get wherever we trying to get to, wherever our dreams are, and Alicia Blinn is on
Own network.
The OWN network.
Yeah.
Well, if it's a morning talk show,
Yeah.
as we are right now, and we have to be there at 10 o'clock, pre-production start at 6 o'clock in the morning, which means that you got to be up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Right,
Which
'cause you
means
gotta
that
work
the day
out
just
first.
ended at 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
I'm with Kyle on this one.
Tell me
Go ahead.
Hold on. Tell me the last time you got 8 hours of sleep.
Last night.
See, you doing too much.
No, I'm not, because I'm with Kyle. Even with me having the TV show, the radio show, real estate classes, the kids, I still manage to find time to rest because I agree with him. I know my body.
True.
I can go out 4 hours. I am not 21 anymore. I'm almost 40 years old. So no, I'm not willing to give up half of my night's worth of sleep for what? That's
you
why
can
you
get
have
more
teams.
work done.
That's why you have teams. That's why you delegate. Look,
That's
Oprah
true.
getting her sleep.
Everybody can't
Don't
do
kid
that.
yourself. Oprah getting her rest.
No,
Because she
let's
got
be honest.
teams
Let's
that
be,
take
no,
care of
we
stuff.
also need to be very honest about the fact. Here's what I'll say, because I have so many opinions about this. First of all, that's his old Steve Harvey quote. He's written a book about this. He's incredibly motivational, and he's right. But everybody has a different hustle. If your hustle is to be an administrator, if that's your dream, you want to be a college or a high school administrator, this probably don't apply to you.
Your work
What
don't
he
start till
said,
school
what he
starts.
said before this is that if you want to be average, if you want to get a little house, get a little car, get a little this, get a little that, this doesn't apply to you. He said if you want to be rich, if you want to be impactful, if you want to be powerful,
wanna
then
be
no, you cannot sleep for
successful.
8 hours. That's what he said. So there are plenty of people whose level of success does not
It's
warrant that
different.
they
Even-
listen to
even
this
though
advice.
I don't
Alright.
agree with the statement, I do not get 8 hours of sleep as of right now. I don't.
I was on your side, and now you saying.
I mean, we're on the same
Because
side,
the-
but I don't get it. I don't get to get
Why
it.
don't you get it now?
I mean, I go to class from 10 to 2, and then I have an hour to get to work. I work valet at the Omni. I'm there from 3 to 11. I get home at 12, and then I wake up again at 6.
Ew. Okay, well, I personally think it also boils down to time management. In my head, my hustle never stops because even when I call myself laying around the house trying to have a down day, everything's coming because there's so much that's constantly going around me. But I believe it's a time management thing because I still find the time to execute those ideas and draw them out and still get stuff done.
To me, it's the backlash that I'm reading on Twitter now, which is so ooh.
Wait, are you reading Twitter or are you reading Black Twitter? There's a difference.
Black Twitter.
The Black Twitter is not Black Twitter be
So-
acting fool for no good
So
reason.
part of
That's
that's where a lot of the
Ricardo
negativity is
Whatever.
coming
Them
from. So
Ricardo
listen,
folk, the
when
wokes.
the arguments that you hear about the fact that okay, so this is a person. I'm not even going to narcotics. That's his tag. I ain't going to say that because if somebody gets him for it. For him to say that black people have, so he's saying black people have high rates of hypertension and this they sleep, we grind mentality is going to have folks stroking out. That is not true. The people that he's talking about, the obesity rates, the stress rates, the high blood pressure rates, a lot of that has to do with your lifestyle, not with whether or not you're sleeping. Insufficient sleep is not the reason that you didn't pass
It's
out. A
what
lot of
you
y'all
do
done
when
passed
you're
out
awake.
because of what you do when you're awake, because of the people that you have in your life, because of the fact that your job is just a piece of job.
you're eating.
It's a job that would naturally stress people out. Like
And a
people
lot of it is
equate
what you
stress
eat.
with suffering when stress is a good thing. Suffering is not a good thing. You're probably suffering in your job, but you're not stressed. You're suffering because it's miserable.
How you
Well, a
get
lot of
stress
people
is a
work
good
jobs
Stress
they
is
don't
good.
like.
You have to
Oh, yeah, you
stress.
have-
You have to have stress
you
to
manage
grow.
You gotta
You
be
have to have
certain
stress to
levels, 'cause
learn.
stress can lead to heart attacks and all that. Other
how
Not,
you
no,
manage
that's not good
Suffering
stress.
It's
Because
how you
people
manage
people don't equate them. So you know what you do when you work out to build muscle?
Yeah.
You tear the muscle.
Yeah, you
literally have to
yes.
rip the muscle apart to tear it to
You need
grow
stress.
In order for
yeah.
good
You
things
have
to
to
happen.
stress the muscle to grow the muscle. So why wouldn't you think that you have to do that in your life?
You do.
What do you do when you're awake? Well, if you eat bad when you're awake, you're fat. That's your fault. Sleep
Right.
don't got nothing to do with
Right.
it. Because you
It really
can't
doesn't.
Because you can't sleep off weight.
You can't. And the metabolic difference that they say between people, in fact, this is a correlation, not causation situation. They say people who don't get enough sleep tend to be people who are obese. That's a correlation, not causation situation. Like, you cannot burn, like you were saying, thousands and thousands of calories by getting just another hour of sleep. That's not the problem. That's not the difference.
Like you can burn 1,000 calories in bed, but that don't got nothing to do with sleep. That's grown folks' business. I'm just telling you, that's what science said.
First of all,
But science did say that. You can
first
look it up
of all,
right now. You
if
can.
you burn that many, I'm not even going there.
Hey, look, sometimes you gotta put in that
skirt-
work.
Let's
But
get
this is
around
what I'm saying.
that. Let's get around
But
that.
look, sleep. People think like sleep and rest is the same thing. Sleep and rest is not the same thing.
So what is rest?
Just like being awake and doing work is not the same thing. It's a lot of people that's awake out here that wake up every single day and they just go about their day and they claim their day is trash and I hate my day and I hate my job and I hate this and I hate that and I can't pay my bills. My dude, that is not stress.
That's suffering.
That's
You
not
just have a
stress.
miserable life.
Because
it
if
has
you-
nothing to do with sleep.
If you've ever actually been successful at something, so like that's why a lot of things are equated to sports. the number one things in sports, you look at the success. Well, the rate of success and what you have to do to get to it, a lot of the time you're not going to rest. Like in basketball, when you got to run 45 laps and you got to run 10 sprints and you got to do 1,000 layups and you got to run at least 4 to 5 team games and then you got to shoot 500 free throws. Even saying it will make you tired until you do it. And imagine doing that every time you practice. So you practice at least 4 times a week. And every single day you got to go work out because you want to be stronger. Imagine having to do that every day. Yeah. But your goal is, I need $100 million. I need a big contract. I need to get in the league. I need all the money. Well, in order for you to get all that money, because you think that the money is the success, then you got to work to get to the money.
Right.
Being cool and just being good don't mean nothing. It's a lot of college players that came out that were good. They ain't got $100 million.
Exactly.
I'm talking about like number 1 players in the country, All-American basketball players, ACC, all that's cool until you get to the league and you realize that it's grown men in this league that don't care about none that you did when you was in high school and college. I'm trying to get that money too. And in order for you to get your money, you're going to have to beat me to get your money.
But so before we go, that's a really good point because people are just taking what Steve said out of context. Steve also said that he talks about focus all the time. And he really says F your dreams all the time. He said, follow your gift. He says, stop trying to follow your passion, follow your gift. Follow what you're actually good at doing. Because if you're really good at doing it and you're spreading that out amongst 20 or 30 other things, there's no way that you're going to be able to put in the time to achieve it. So he doesn't just say that you cannot sleep and you'll get there tomorrow. Like, he really does believe in like the long game, but he also believes you need to focus on what that is. So somebody named Mr. R. Dot on Twitter said that, I'm just saying, he said that, listen, Steve, he said, I'm not Steve. I'm not married to a scammer who has me working 20 jobs just to keep her happy. Basically,
whoa, what?
A lot of people think
he called Steve a scammer.
I think his wife. His wife.
What? Marjorie? Beautiful.
A lot of people think that if you have a whole bunch going on, that you're successful. They equate
really
busy with productive, and that's not true. If you have 20 jobs, you have 20. You're moving in the opposite direction of success.
I just want to know how he called her a scammer, and they've been married for 40 years.
But she does her own thing too, doesn't she?
I don't know if she does. It looks like what he's saying is I'm not paying all the bills.
She's a producing manager on his show, on all his shows, radio, TV. She helps him write the books. She did the foreword for the first book. I think he did, but she's always been there. They have 7 children.
Whoa. Really?
Yes.
I think they got married in like 2007 though, 2006.
They've been together for 40 years though, for a long time.
I'm just not with all these.
And this is the thing that be so funny because it always be the wokes. It always be them. Well, no, you need to, because science say, and this and that, but y'all be the same folks that argue science when science say that this is the reason why black people die. Oh, no, because we know why black people die, because you can't argue both points. Either they're right or you're right. You got to pick one. In real life, if you do not work hard at one thing, you cannot be great at one. Like, you can't be saying that I do all these things. What are you great at?
Right, nothing.
What are you great at?
Look. But that is the problem I always have when people say this hustler mentality thing.
But what
especially
you do,
now,
before you say that, but what you do is all in the same realm of what you do. You're in media. So whether that's writing, whether that's production, whether that's the radio show or TV, it's all the same thing. The same thing with what I do in music. I write, I produce, I engineer, I come up with concepts, I coming up with ideas and melodies and this and that and produce. That's all the same thing. Well, imagine somebody that's saying, well, yeah, I do media and I do music and I do computer programming. So what are you really good at?
Right.
Because if you're, what do you, and I do photography, you know what I'm saying?
Nobody's going to pay you like that.
I got a GoPro. Like, everything. Well, I'm going to pay you what all of those things are worth together without you being good at either one of them. $40. $40. Because if you're not great at one thing, I can only pay you for being good at a bunch of stuff. And that's what people miss out. That Steve works in media.
That's why we got to change the education system.
He works in media.
But that's the whole point.
If you're not taught to be good at a specific, because that's what majors are for. Well, most people go to college and don't decide their major till the last year because they don't know what they're good at. If you don't know what you're good at coming out of high school, you're probably not going to know what you're good at when you're going into college. Most kids don't have their mind made up like, no, I want to be this and I'm going to work towards this and I'm going to do that. No, they be whack. Because everybody be telling them you could be whatever you want to. No, you can't. It don't work like that.
You shouldn't.
Like, it don't work like that. Don't tell your kid they could be an astronaut. No, you can't. Whoa. Physics is very, very difficult.
Yes, and your kid can't count.
Like,
I need to.
On that note,
No, kill.
all right, I want to leave this nugget before we go on break. Really quickly, so if you ever visit Kamakura, Japan, you might want to sit down and eat. Because apparently the city has banned eating while walking. So I won't leave that thought because we do that a lot. Actually, eat and drive a lot too. But I won't leave that little thought. So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll have more of this and other current events on the Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice. everybody. We are back on this Friday edition of the Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice, and my correspondent,
Simone Sherry.
Kyle Andrew.
Double R.
And Shaib.
All right, so when we left, I threw out a little nugget about Japan and them passing a law that says you cannot walk and eat.
That's ridiculous.
That is too.
Many Japanese people believe it's poor manners to walk or do other physical activities while eating because it means you're not appreciating your food properly. For some, this belief has its roots in World War II when food was scarce and it was something to be treasured, not treated casually. The issue of tourists eating in the streets isn't a concern isolated to Japan. Apparently in Florence, Italy, a section of the city center has an outright ban on chowing down on sidewalks, roadways, and on doorsteps of shops and houses. It's not just about hygiene. This is an extremely busy and crowded part of the city, and people sitting on the sidewalks makes it harder for others to walk around. So, sounds like it's a combination of things. I will say for myself, and people get mad at me when I go out to eat, I'm not rushing. because I want to savor and enjoy my food. It may take me 30 minutes to eat a quarter pounder with Chase.
Wow.
Doesn't matter. I want to savor my food. And actually, I get mad if I have to rush and eat.
It's actually
Yeah.
good for your health to eat really slowly.
Actually, I
It makes
naturally
eating
eat
out with
fast.
those sorts of people very difficult.
Yo,
Though.
you ever watched people eat slow?
Look, I don't want
It's
to
so
watch you.
hard.
punch you
I don't want
in
to watch
the
you
face.
eat. We should be eating at the same, even
I
if
will
you're
punch
done.
you in the face.
Every time
I
I
don't
go out
wanna-
to eat, I'm always the first one done, and I have to literally. Most of the time, I end up ordering something else because I'm watching other people eat, and I'm
Really?
I'm
Okay,
still
well,
hungry.
I don't ever have that problem. This is kind of weird that y'all even bring
Man,
this
me
up.
and my dad just sit around the table at my mom like, man, can we, like, our place has been clean. She's still on her salad. It just don't make
Whoa,
no
you're
sense.
waiting
I-
for them to be done?
I don't
Yeah.
have
Yeah,
that
because I can't
problem.
leave
You can't
you.
leave without my mom.
I
mean,
can't leave
I ain't gonna
you
lie. I
here.
get it. I'm sorry. It's like, you guys, I'm done. I'm out. Peace.
I mean, that defeats the
Okay,
purpose of
I guess
going out to eat.
so I guess because I'm older school, we're not just eating. We're having conversations. We're catching up,
Don't
and we're
talk to
not
me
necessarily
while I eat.
doing it.
Don't do that.
Like I was getting ready to say,
That's
we're
disrespectful.
not necessarily doing it while we eating, but the whole process. There's enough time to conversate. From the time you sit down to look at the menu
It
to
depends
decide
on
what
where
you
you
want
at.
to eat,
What if
you
we
had
at
a
home?
full
What's the
conversation.
occasion?
That,
Yeah,
I
and
ne-
where my
that's
wife
what I
doing that,
never
yeah.
understood when people say let's have like home dinner and they expect everybody to talk. First of all, have you ever sat next to a whole bunch of black people at a table at the same time?
That
trying
you're
talk
related
and
to.
eat at the same. Look, if you spit on my plate one more time, I'm gonna punch you in the throat.
It's like, why do I care?
Don't talk to me.
You know what else aggravates me? When
We
I go out
need
to eat?
shields.
What?
People asking me what I got and if it's good. I
Yo.
hate that question. I'm eating. Like, Kyle,
Why
what
don't
you
you
get?
try it?
Is it good? I was like, you see me
You
eating.
know
It's
what else
for-
though? Too?
ooh, ooh,
Okay,
can I
but
try?
what else?
Yes,
I decide
no.
on my food really fast too. Do you?
Most of the time.
Yeah.
See, most people like they just
I'm not eating
pour
with either one of y'all.
over the menu and pour over the menu. I'm like, you can always come back if you want something else another day. Like you don't have to. They act like it's this decision that if they pick the wrong thing,
It's the end of
like
the
they
world.
just don't know what they're gonna
First
do.
of all, it actually is.
No,
because
it's not.
If their digestive
money.
system is like mine, if I order something I really did not want, for some reason my body will dissolve it and make me hungry like in an hour.
Really?
Yes.
But
it's always
only-
been like that.
We
Then-
only eat
then
like
you eat a
3
snack
or
in an
4
hour.
things.
No, like
Do
my,
you
I'm
eat
telling you,
three or
like, okay,
four
case in point. So yesterday I went to Burger King, and I was like, I really wanted a chicken sandwich
Did you
from
get your
Burger King.
Okay,
mood
but
meal?
what?
Did you
What?
get a mood meal?
You didn't want to go to
GAF
Wendy's?
meal,
You know how I felt about that
meal?
when y'all talked about it. So what do you think?
He got a DGAF burger. So what happened?
So I got to the window and said, you know what? I don't want a chicken sandwich. I want a fish sandwich. My body was like, no, we don't want fish. We want chicken. So I was like, no, I think I really want fish. So I ordered a fish sandwich and I ate it. And the whole time I eating, my body was like, yep, we didn't really want this. So
And then what?
you're going to eat it. I was hungry in like 30 minutes. So I had to
You
get
go
something
get some
else.
other food.
I don't want to spend $10, $15 on food because
Well,
I didn't
no,
follow my
I
body.
do. I thought you had something at your home.
Yeah.
Well, here's
Ma'am,
the
I
thing.
don't cook. There's no food in
Well,
my house.
here's the
Whoa.
thing. Then you should have just ordered more when you were there. Like I feel
I'm
like,
not going to order a fish sandwich and a chicken sandwich. Are you nuts? Who does that?
Someone
DoorDash.
said,
I don't know.
"Oh."
I don't eat any meat, but
No.
I
we're
guess
not
I just
doing
feel
that.
like you can't lose. You can't lose. Like there's no need to make this a big decision. Like I just want to order the right thing. Like why? You never gonna come out again?
But that's-
like we never gonna be here
That's
again.
the most annoying part about this because a lot of this is for people that eat out in public when you got to order food. First of all, when you order, most people usually only order 3 things, no matter what restaurant they go to: fish, chicken, or steak.
Yep.
Now, everybody doesn't eat steak. Everybody don't eat
I don't
red
eat
meat.
steak. I'm not a steak.
Everybody don't eat red meat. Everywhere that you go, when you notice they serve chicken, it's only 4 to 5. Most menus only have 4 to 5 chicken entrees on their plate. It's gonna be wings, chicken tenders. You can get a chicken sandwich, depending on what type of restaurant it is. It could be club, grill, or fried. You can get a chicken salad. It's always gonna be a chicken salad somewhere, or you can get what's the chicken with the pasta and stuff. That you can
Alfredo,
get that.
chicken Alfredo.
Yeah, you can get that. That's 5 things you can order from. It's not that difficult. You can get that. All 5 of those things will be the same thing in fish. It'll be shrimp. It
Y'all
won't be
are
no
not-
difference.
You know what? You had a plan when you went to that Burger King, and then you allowed yourself to deviate from
That's
your
what I'm
plan.
saying. It don't. It ain't
What
that
I'm saying to
difficult.
y'all, first of all, I'm never going to eat with any of you. Let me just make that distinction right now.
whoa,
Maybe
what
Shahid, but I'm not going to eat with either 3 of y'all. What y'all are not about to do is rush my eating experience. If I want to get there, especially if we go to Cheesecake Factory, which we probably not with me, because Cheesecake
Their
Factory's
menu is way
menu
too
is about
long.
30 pages long,
Yeah.
and usually when I sit down, I'm like, don't give me that, give me recommendations. So what we're not going to do
Okay.
is go through
See,
30
I'm
selections.
impervious to that. You know why? Because I'm not gonna. There's no need to look at all those pages.
But you said you don't eat
'Cause I
meat.
know
one
what I
page.
want.
I know,
Exactly.
but I'm impervious.
Okay,
to that.
well,
But
you
what
don't
I'm
eat meat,
saying
so all we
is-
gotta do is give you some grass.
Even when I did,
with some ranch dressing on it.
whoa. Even when I did, I'm not gonna be but so froggy. I'm not. They're not sitting you down there to read a whole book. You see something, the first thing you see, you're like, boom. Don't make it difficult. Like
And if you don't know what
I,
it is,
So are
don't
you
buy it.
pescatarian or you vegan?
I'm vegetarian.
Whoa, that's
So
So
again,
neither.
it's easy.
But-
We can drop you off at Slutty Vegan
Oh,
and keep
it's easy.
pushing.
It's easy.
Whoa.
It's easy.
I mean, unless you go in the hood, then you got to order some.
That's
got- we
not
got
even
what
a
you
question.
prefer.
It's just even when I ate meat, I was like, there's only so many things I'm gonna order. So there
Yeah,
may be a
'cause
million options, but there really aren't. Because
In
I'm
a
not gonna
restaurant-
try.
You're
that
not a good
or that
example.
or
You're
that.
not a good example.
I feel you, Simone.
I tried. I like what I like.
Simone is
and-
not a good
But you
example.
know what I like?
I know what I
hate being
want.
disappointed.
That's what I'm saying.
So I
know what
don't venture
want.
too far because I'm just gonna be disappointed.
I know what I
just don't do
want.
that.
It don't matter where I go. I know what I want. I know I want some chicken. If y'all got steak, I want that steak.
So you're not a good example either because you're completely black. You're just completely.
I'm just saying.
You're black
it's
and white.
It's only 3 things.
Look, some of us
If
are
you
great.
eat meat, it's only 3
So what do
things.
you order when you
Some of
when
us
you
are
been to
great.
cheesecake?
Because-
What did you order that you would have never found if you didn't go to page 48 of the menu? Like
Homeless.
what did you miss?
The crab cake thing, which is what I end up ordering.
Crab cake.
Crab cake. That's
Crab
your
cake thing?
appetizer.
Yes, but it has some kind of mustard or something with it.
It's not
That's
like
on the
and,
first
you know,
page.
appetizers are the
That's
first
an
page. It's not like you
appetizer.
ended up.
Okay, first of all, I don't
just
like
don't-
going to cheesecake because I don't.
I just feel
it's
like
too
people
much.
always end up with their first mind. Like they could pour over the whole menu and
And
just,
then
let me
order
just
the
get what
same
I
thing.
got.
But again, but the question is, why do I have to be in a rush
It's
when I'm
not a
sitting down to
rush.
eat?
It's just that we would like to
Well,
grow old.
I tell you like this. I tell you like this. Don't be in a rush. But you better not say no when my food comes.
Oh no. If I'm sitting
I'm gonna
down,
order first.
I will adjust with the people I'm with. So like if I like case in point, we went to.
How you gonna adjust?
Oh, no, I'm not- I
how
may
you gonna
rush to
adjust to
order.
people and then say that he not
No,
going out to
I
eat
may
with us?
rush to order, but I'm not rushing to eat.
You're gonna need a dog bag.
Oh, you
So
gonna be by
we
yourself?
get there.
Okay.
The rest
So
to eat.
look, just know to the listeners, if you ever go out to eat with Ricardo, you better drive because he gonna be there all night.
Speaking of driving,
I didn't
just
say
got
that.
a taste of Ricardo's driving this morning for the first time because he was nice enough to bring me to the station today.
What you
And
about to
he-
say? Because you might not
he
be riding
drives
back home with
very-
me.
Quite safe and quite slow. So now I'm also thinking, and my mom drives slow, so I'm thinking maybe it's a slow eating, slow driving.
Okay.
Maybe there's a
Does he
correlation.
drive at 10 and 2?
He does have 10 and 2.
Okay, well I took driver's ed, so yes, I do drive appropriately. Thank you, Kyle.
I'm just saying.
And the only reason I wasn't rushing because we got here early because I was on a time restraint. I mean, I was on a schedule today, so I had already been out because I decided to do a little lifting today to make a little cash. And I was already out, and we were already ahead of schedule because I was going to try to be here before 11 o'clock because I had some things to do. And we were on schedule because I got to her house at probably like 10. So my plan was to get here at 10:30. So I wasn't really in a rush. And then we were talking. So I was like, now if I didn't like you and we didn't get along, we'd have been here in 10, 15 minutes. Because I'm like, let me just get there so we can go to 2 different rooms.
Oh.
But, you know, it's
That's
No,
crazy.
he was very safe, and I noticed.
Why do you sound surprised?
Well, I just get curious about folks driving, honestly. And I felt like you were very calm. There's a lot of idiocy going on. You didn't seem to pay much mind.
There was a lot of
You know?
what?
Idiocy.
Yeah, I
on
don't-
these roads.
I'm really oblivious.
But every
to
time
most-
he was cut off, he didn't seem to mind. Every time we couldn't get over, he didn't seem to mind. I thought that was very.
See,
you know,
and this is the concerning part for me. Okay, so this is my new philosophy in
I know
life.
you drive like a bat.
Yeah, I wouldn't ride with.
And Shaid drives like a bat too.
Wait, what do you mean I drive like a bat?
Like a bat out of hell. You drive you drive crazy.
Do you?
drive like,
I do not drive crazy. I drive
like a wanted felon.
Look, no. First of all, let me put this phone down so that way.
He's serious.
First of all, look, when I'm by myself, I will be reckless as I want because there's nobody in the car but me. But granted, if any of you guys were in the car, I'll be more submissive to be like, you know what, Kyle's in the car with me. I'm not going to try to kill Kyle and stuff like that because I care for his life. Let me drive the way that I'm supposed to.
I'm not gonna kill his side.
Thank you.
But when it's me, I don't care.
Oh,
I get
actually, wait. Before we
And-
move farther,
and I have a
wait.
Mustang.
Before we move,
And I drive very safe.
I actually got to ride a bird the other day.
Oh, you mean the scooter?
I finally went downtown and rode one.
I thought you said you would never.
I finally rode a bird. Okay, so number one, I couldn't get it to work because apparently you're supposed to push it and then it's supposed to kick in.
Yeah.
Mine would not kick in. So my friend that I was with, he was like, okay, well, let me try. And finally he got to kick in. Those things are really fast. Like, I got on, was like, whoa. And I was at the belt line. So it's all these people walking. And I just think it's a setup for a failure.
So you didn't like it? You didn't have a good experience?
I enjoyed it, but I wouldn't ride on the belt line because there's too much traffic. So
That's
trying to
except
maneuver.
Oh, I definitely
like,
seen
I
a dude
wouldn't.
this weekend hit a girl.
I-
He was on the scooter and she was on the scooter, but her scooter just stopped and he like ran her over and then they trickled into a group. And it was funny.
It's easily done. Like they're really fast. Like I was like, whoa. And then like I said, I was on a belt line, so all these people are walking. I'm trying to get around folks. They're not paying attention. And like you said, this young guy was on one, and he ended up hitting people because he couldn't stop it because it was really that fast, and people weren't paying attention. So it's good.
Because walkers don't care.
Yeah,
walkers
it's
is like
it's-
I'm
it's-
walking.
Right.
I noticed,
pedestrian.
and I noticed that because I haven't walked across the street in a very long time because I drive, bro. I haven't had to. When you drive, you tend to forget, like, was I like that? Cause a dude, look, I live in Lawrenceville, y'all, and I pulled up to a green light and had to stop because a dude looked me directly in the eyes and kept walking across the street.
Oh yeah. England.
And I'm like, so can I like hit him and be cool?
No.
Nah.
You can hit him, but it won't be cool.
That's
He's
normal
white,
to me
wasn't
though.
Yeah,
drive
white
around
Of course you can do that.
Georgia State campus. They don't.
Yeah,
care.
about
Oh,
downtown.
downtown is the worst
The
because
homeless
they
people?
look at you like you
Yeah,
better
crazy.
stop.
Right.
I'll
Yeah.
sue if you hit me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which is what they
it's
want.
not.
You know, they want that
But it
rating.
was fun. Like I said, it was actually really fun, and I probably will do it again, probably somewhere else. But you actually should take those things. If you're in school and you go to Georgia State, you're trying to get to class. I thought those things would be slower than they are. You should actually get there.
Nah, they go.
On those things. It was pretty
they
impressive.
Take it all the way home.
Do you think that people can be trained with a level of road sense? Like, I was talking to my wife about this when we were in a grocery store parking lot. Why do people walk in the middle of the parking lot,
Like people
lane?
don't gotta drive there
Yeah, like people that are going back to their cars or leaving their cars, they're in the middle.
Because I don't want to walk around
because
cars.
they don't care.
I'm not
I don't want to walk around cars.
But I don't understand because when a car is going to take off, there's indications. Like there are lights, there are maybe maybe a body
What's
inside.
your question again?
Why do people walk in the middle of the dang thing?
I just told you because we don't want to walk around cars.
But you can't. I don't
Get
get
out
it.
my
Because
way.
you have to share the road. You have to share the road with the
No,
walker.
you know what I don't like? I don't
Share?
like sharing the road with
Share.
I
bikes.
can't share because they in the
Oh
middle.
yeah, bikes are terrible.
I hate bicyclers.
Bikes are the worst.
Yeah, they're aggressive.
especially when there's a lot of them.
It's like,
Like why all y'all in the street? It's called a bike lane for a reason.
Yeah,
Yeah, they don't like
they don't
those.
like sidewalks either.
But I don't like bike lanes either because I'm so tired of scooters being able to use them. You're on a scooter. Your scooter go 50 miles an hour. You are a vehicle. Get in this street. But get out my way so I can go around you because you're going too slow. And motorcycles can use them lanes too. In traffic, on P Street, Piedmont, Ponce, where the bike lanes be at, no, cuz, because you're too fast. You faster than the police. Get in this lane.
Yeah.
Don't swerve through traffic like that.
Actually, that's my next move. Next thing I want to get is one of those bicycles that operate like the little birds that you can kind of do the little thing, get in, ride. That's my next thing. But it is
Oh.
really
Talking about
kind
a
of cool.
scooter?
No, like a bicycle. They do bicycles too. They have bicycles out there
yeah,
with the
they
same
do.
concept that you get it.
Oh, you talking about the jump bikes? No, I'm good.
What is a jump bike?
That's what I thought. That's what the jump bike was.
What's the
What?
I missed my friend's birthday yesterday.
Oh, good grief.
I
Oh,
just got a
Lord.
text message.
Well, clearly you're
Jump
not a good
bike.
friend.
I'm not. I'm busy.
Wow.
I'm busy.
Wow, booked.
that was
Oh,
some
man.
hard truth.
Oh, okay. The other story. What's the other story?
So on Monday, May 6th, the royal baby was born. His name is Archie Harrison Mountbatten Winsdor.
Yo, these
Um,
names.
I was
and-
disgusted with that name. I'm not even going to front. I was like, so you let him name your baby Archie?
I like Archie.
What do you mean let
Little
him?
Archibald?
I
That could have been her idea.
that I thought the first name was somebody that was related to her, like her dad's middle name or something
Archie?
like that.
That poor child.
I mean, there was a
But
It's
controversy.
the UK, bro.
It's coming.
There was a broadcaster. His name was Danny Barker, and he posted a picture of these two white people walking outside with a chimpanzee, which he was supposed to be. It was supposed to resemble the baby, and he was like, "Welcome to the, look at the royal family." He was fired from his BBC job. He made a statement saying, "Following one of the worst days of his life, I just want to formally apologize for the outrage that I've caused and explain how I got myself into this mess." I don't understand how you don't think that posting a half black baby and resembling it to a chimpanzee at this point, after H&M and everything that we've been through, does not get you in hot water.
Okay, so before we go in,
Because I'm about to
before we go in,
Flame this
I
whole thing.
read the story, and what he did or what he thought he was doing is not uncommon. He's not here, so their mindset is different. Typically, in other countries, when they talk about royal families, they do use monkeys in suits. They do have that picture, that depiction. That's what he was going for. He didn't realize that she came from America and that here we have that issue where African Americans are compared to monkeys. I know what he was going for. I've seen it in those kind of cartoons.
Oh.
They depict the royal family as monkeys with the little royal suits, and I know what he was going for. He just didn't realize that she's Americanized and she came from America. And in America, African Americans are constantly compared to monkeys, and that's not acceptable. I get what he was doing. I get it.
That's not
Can I ask a
universal.
question? Can I ask a
No,
question?
it's not.
Can I ask a question? How many people in this room believe in evolution? All right, Shai, you gotta go. So this is my this is my thing. This is my thing. If you believe in evolution, which you say you do,
Yeah.
and which we know that most white people
No, wait. What do you mean by evolution, though?
He's talking about apes
evolution
specifically.
of man.
Okay, then.
So the evolution of man is that
I don't know how to
man went from an amoeba to like a tadpole to like a fish thing.
Wait. Aren't
To
you
like-
combining two different
Hold on.
things?
No. So to like a fish thing, to like a thing that came out the water that had some legs that kind of looked like a reptile, to like a small little puppy little ragdoll thing, to like a baby ape, to like a bigger ape, to like man.
You're talking about that evolution.
So that's supposed to be the evolution of man. Now, in the UK, a lot of those people believe in Darwin. They believe everything he said. I trust bruh. Bruh said that we evolved from this. My question is, if bruh said that happened, why stop?
What do you mean?
Because no other mammal in the wild has stopped evolving.
Is that their motivation for the cartoon, that they think it's related to evolution, or that's just...
No. Because in America, a lot of people do believe that newborn babies are super unattractive. Now,
Some babies are.
most
I was.
newborn babies
Beautiful.
are weird looking
Sure, Simone.
babies.
I
Like,
was. I was given an award. I was
Like
so
it was a few. It's a few babies out here that look like ET. I ain't gonna lie
There's
to
some,
you.
but a lot of babies are beautiful.
That they look like the aliens from Men in Black. The first one, white guy, like them babies be looking like that. But my thing is, if a lot of people believe in evolution, why do and I've always asked this question because I ain't never really got an answer. But like, why do black people be so mad at white people when white people believe in evolution? They believe that we evolved from apes. So they basically saying that that's your cousin.
because they're saying we're still apes.
Pretty much.
That's the difference.
But if
Pretty
you
much.
But then all you got to do is hit them with, well, if I'm an ape, then why stop?
I don't
basically
think
saying
that's
we're not man. We're not
Like
human.
why evolution
Really?
just stopped? Like why we were just turned up? We did all that evolve. I ain't seen a fish jump out the water and start running yet.
Wait, I can't be.
So
able-
the point
Anyway.
is, I understood what he was going for, but at the same token, I think that in other places they don't see race as heavy as we do.
They
Yes,
don't.
they do.
So no, they don't.
They don't.
They don't.
Even
They
when they have
no,
the
they
same
don't hear
language,
they don't
it doesn't
hear
have the same
outrage.
impact.
They don't
Exactly.
have the outrage.
Exactly.
Because it's still it was a lot of black people in the UK like, hold on, bruv. Like they was hitting them with them
even in
accents.
South America and Central America, when they use words like that all the time, like they use like what we would call like blackie or like dark one, and that could be someone's nickname, and it's not it's like you dark. It's not like a thing that you should feel suppressed or oppressed by. Like that's just the language that they use.
Yeah, so yeah.
Can we please talk about the baby being dropped? I
Oh
think
my
that
God.
is so funny. And
Okay, so these pinheads around me decide they want to talk about dropping and hitting babies. I don't understand
No,
Never.
not
How we
hitting
got
babies,
here.
just dropping babies.
That's just
is
as
some
bad.
bull.
Hit one, drop one.
Early-
But
Earlier-
you do know that is very common in hospitals.
What?
Earlier this week,
Dropping
that they dropped
babies.
babies. Earlier
I
this
did
week,
not.
parents Derek and Monique Rogers say that they
No, Derek.
weren't looking for much
Yeah, we
after
are.
after they captured a hospital staff dropping their newborn baby on its head. This was moments after birth. He said an apology would have sufficed, but instead, Chandler Regional Medical Center in Arizona gave them a runaround and decided to share the video publicly. So this is, I guess, what the family has decided to do. They had twins. Morgan and Madison, they were born premature. Just moments after birth, they filmed a member of the staff who actually dropped the baby's head on a table. And another staffer had to run and quickly prevent the baby from falling on the floor. He said, it made me so mad. Obviously, he stopped recording. It was just a few second incident. Obviously, the parents said they'll never watch the video again. But the hospital basically refused to apologize
Oh, no,
or
I need to
acknowledge
check.
it. And so that's why
Yeah,
that happened. He
looking
said,
at
you
the
dropped
tape.
my baby. He showed him the video. The hospital, I guess, got real afraid of legal action.
Oh no, it's some legal action.
Oh, yeah. So, but they said this is
Because
not
that's
uncommon.
not the first time. That's not uncommon for that, and that's why you're starting to see a lot of people, even white people, going to more natural ways of birthing. Like black people, we've known about the doula,
Yep.
like we've known about the home births, and a lot of women just can't handle that pain. It's a lot of holistic ways to not necessarily handle the pain, but to lessen it. Because a lot of that really just comes from diet. You can easily give, but they always tell you, like in the hospital bed, to lay on your back to give birth. Like this. The canal runs like this. So why is it that you would lay on your back to push a baby out? Like it don't make sense.
I think it's in case I faint that they want to make sure I'm already lying down. That's what I think.
First of all, didn't you say you're not having kids? So
Well, look. I'm saying hypothetically. So, but one thing. Okay, this is a newborn.
I
That's
need
very
that check.
different. Obviously, a
and
newborn.
that's a premature baby. Like
Yeah.
you dropped a premature baby.
that's why I'm
Right.
like the baby didn't
And when
die.
I seen that
No.
video, I almost punched my phone. Like
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
catching
Those
a
are
body in the hospital.
Obviously, This
Straight
is a
up.
newborn. This is a very extreme incident.
I'm catching
But
about it.
thank God the baby's fine.
We don't know that.
Even though
Well,
you
so
laughed,
far.
and you laughed at it. You laughed at
I
the
laughed at the idea of someone dropping a
You
baby.
said so.
That's
You
still messed
said you
I
dropped
did
the
not
baby.
imagine that a
Still messed up.
newborn that is totally
Dropping any baby.
I've
is not.
not dropped.
What if
Okay,
that was
so-
your
okay,
kid?
okay.
What if that was your kid?
Obviously, I would be heartbroken.
Yeah.
No,
What I'm talking
I'm
about
going
was
to
more
jail.
so. What I'm talking about is more so like little tiny slip. Okay, so what happened was I was a child as well. Please, if we can have some.
So you was a
some
child holding a
mercy. I
child?
was a child. Yes, they let the child hold a child. So that's the first thing. My cousin was passing him to me. We were on the couch, so we weren't high. Like I wasn't standing. I
How
was
old
like
were you?
maybe 2 feet off the ground. I was 8. My cousin handed him to me. I wasn't ready. She felt like I was ready. She wanted me to hold the. I didn't want to hold the baby. She passed it to me. I fumbled the pass. The baby fell.
Ma'am, it's not football. What are you talking about?
The baby was maybe.
Football.
Good thing you're holding on.
The
on
baby
someone,
was
guys. That's a good
maybe 1-ish.
Oh, that's not a baby.
No, 2.
Oh, that's
Maybe
not
2.
count.
That's what I'm saying. Not a
Oh,
baby.
oh,
This
oh,
is a newborn baby. I was talking more like a child. Like a
Okay, well, it's never
child.
funny to drop a child.
Oh, a child.
So
Oh,
he
okay.
fell, he cried.
Yeah, that's still messed up. Then.
You know, babies tend to bounce. I mean, these kids, they're
They tend to bounce.
He's not a ball. He's not a ball.
they're very like, you know, kids bumping their heads all the time. They fall back down. They wake up like, oh,
Yeah.
and they keep it pushing. A lot of kids are very resilient, very resilient. And so was he. My aunt was pissed, but the kid was fine.
But like I said, like it's common. Like I tell you about the video of the priest trying to do the christening and drop the baby in the water.
Yeah, that was terrible.
That's totally
That
that's
was
drowning.
That hurt me.
So,
I would never.
That
that
was
was
terrible.
funny because he was laughing. No, he dropped the baby.
No, he was not laughing. The people
trying to
snatched the baby
dip
out of his
the
hands.
baby. He was trying to dip the baby, and I think either the mom or the dad was trying to grab his arm, and he like dropped the whole bottom half of the baby, and somebody came, get my baby. Like,
Whoa.
Yeah, they were mad.
don't grab me while I'm trying. You wanted me to dip your baby? Let me dip your baby.
I'm trying to do this for God.
So you're doing the most.
I'd have
That's
been mad
doing the
too.
most.
That's why I'm like,
Definitely mad
good.
too.
Like, if you about to baptize my baby, I'm getting in that pool.
I don't know. I feel like dropping babies or hitting babies' heads is pretty common. I mean, I was
It
in like
is.
8th
What is
grade.
wrong
We
with
would
y'all?
never
It's
make
not
it
gonna
to
be
20.
dropping
We would
his
never
head.
make it to
Because
adulthood.
if
We're
It's
talking about
common.
babies,
It's common, but
not
I'm not
kids.
gonna-
No,
I
babies.
know.
It actually is common.
Okay, well, what is
But
a kid to
dropping
you?
babies,
3?
A kid is like 2.
dropping
After 2
babies
kids.
in the hospital is actually more common than parents dropping their children at home.
I'm sure.
It's super common
kid.
Like,
now this makes me
because
wonder how
on the table, because that's the reason why usually when parents have their children, they take your baby to a whole nother room to clean your
Right.
baby.
They don't want you to.
Because they dropping it.
You don't know.
If anything happens to
Had
your
the parent
child,
not videotaped this, we would never know. They
It
didn't
would
even
never be a
apologize.
story.
They never admitted it.
and that's the reason why a couple of years ago, like they was talking about putting cameras in birth, because you don't actually know what's happening to your child on these tables, like because they don't show you. Like, why is it that I can have a child and then you get to like take my child away and go put my why?
Because they're
Yeah.
doing other stuff.
Let's not be
It's-
naive.
Like what?
You sign about 90 forms when you go to a hospital.
And that's
Let's
what.
not
and,
pretend.
And people are
that-
not reading
yeah.
all 90. It's like an iPhone contract. You scroll all the way
would
down
never
to the
need
bottom
to
to
sign it.
agree.
Determined agreements.
And it's funny because they've been talking about this the past couple years where if you go to the hospital, it probably like the last 2-3 years you go to the hospital, they don't have any more paper forms. Like if you go to Emory, they not giving you all them papers no more. They make you sign 2 pieces of paper. You come up, they got like a little pad. They tell you scroll up, make sure you read it, and you sign at the bottom. In the next 5 years, it's gonna be everything gonna be on that little pad. And if you don't read it, you don't know what you signing.
Well, that's what everything. People do that now. It's like I
Yeah.
thought about it the other day. I brought something and it had all this terms of agreement. I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know better. So really,
I mean,
you know better.
I'm not saying the parents had a choice because they were at a hospital and she needed to give birth, but I'm just saying these things do happen. I'm sure far more often than we.
It is
and
never
the truth
acceptable
is,
to drop a baby.
And
No, it's
I
never
acceptable,
acceptable.
it's just- it'd be a
and
little
I'm
bit
not
funny.
promoting it.
No,
I'm just
no.
saying.
You don't seem broken up about it.
Because he's fine. I mean, he's one of my
Yeah.
favorite little cousins now. He's grown. He don't remember.
Does he remember?
I don't
No,
want to
he don't remember.
I don't want to tell you much.
About
We're going
10
on break
years
because I don't want to tell you anymore. So we're going to go on break, and when we come back, Shaheed is going to give his story and other stuff about current events on the Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice.
Let's do some.
Through drought and famine, natural disasters, my baby has been around for me. Kingdoms are falling, angels be calling, none of that that could ever make me leave. Yeah. Every time I look into your eyes, I see it. You're all I need. Every time I get a bit inside, I feel it. Ooh, who would have thought I'd get you? Ooh, who would have thought I'd get you? And when we're making love, your cries, they can be heard from far and wide. It's only the two of us. Everything I need between those thighs. Every time I look into your eyes, I see it. You're all I need. Every time I get a bit inside, I feel it. Ooh, who would have thought I'd get you? Oh yeah, baby. Ooh.
Everybody, welcome back to this Friday edition of the Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardi Rice, and my correspondent.
Come on, Sheree.
Kyle Andrew.
Double R.
And Shaib.
All right, so we're going to turn the floor over to Shahid.
Lawsuit.
I told you them chairs, bro. I told you that.
Y'all
chair.
don't want to play around with these chairs. Well, said none of these chairs except this one. Y'all don't want to take risks with y'all lives with
I
these
don't
chairs.
touch nothing.
Kyle almost fell. That's what we laughing at. So we're going to turn it over to Shahid. So Shahid, take it away.
All right. Through my discovery of, I think it was like earlier in the week and stuff. It's not funny. Like, dang, let me do this. You guys never let me get a chance. All right. But on a serious note, like earlier in the week, I was going through some articles and whatnot just to present like what would be the thing I would come over here to present to you guys. And weirdly enough, Denver decided in the U.S. to decriminalize psychedelic mushrooms or psilocybin. To me, this hasn't really been so much of a weird. It's not like, oh my God, where'd this come from? Because I mean, truth be told, Denver did release medical marijuana at first, and then legalization of it, and then there were talks about it around like I want to say maybe 2014 at the time about let's see what we could do to decriminalize psilocybin mushrooms. Only because the whole thing about this is, and to everybody who's not really in the know of what psilocybin mushrooms are, they're the little psychedelic mushrooms that do give you either auditory, hallucinatory, or psychedelic effects to yourself or psyche and whatnot. And the thing about it is that nowadays with these psychedelic mushrooms, there's been more research to the point of like, like they could actually be used for good and like holistic health and like mental health problems, as well as relieve people of depression, PTSD, and a whole lot of other stuff.
Wait.
I mean, to a whole lot of other.
Let me grasp the understanding of this. So what you're saying to me is that the funny mushrooms, what we used to call them, the funny mushrooms that give you delusions
Magic
and
mushrooms.
stuff, are good for.
Of course. No, the thing about it is, it's like all drugs, to be honest, have a good component to them. It's just a fact of, as people, and let me remind everybody of this, there are tools. Drugs are tools. I'm not saying this to advocate anything. I'm just being honest with things. It's like...
Aren't you advocating?
You
no,
advocate
No,
away,
I'm not advocating it because, in all honesty, the only reason I decided to do research on these things is to be a better person to explain what these things are to people. Because just like everything in life, we humans could utilize tools to help better our lives or worsen them. And the thing with drugs are, and I'm saying, no, wait, let me not call this a drug. Let me call it an entheogen. An entheogen, for everybody to want to know what it is that it could be any, like, all right, any supplementary or certain things that could help you with your overall health in terms of spirituality, mentally, or physically in a sense. And that's what I'm going to refer to these mushrooms as, entheogens. Okay. But these entheogens could be used for good, but it's just a fact of when people when they come across these things, they usually just, all right, yeah, these are just some mushrooms my friend just told me about. Oh, I'm just going to go get lit, as they say, and just run around and not really give
Overindulge.
Yeah, and just not care what happens and whatnot. And then you lead yourself to situations and stipulations of, oh, this guy was going like mad crazy just because he took some mushrooms that he found in the ground or someone gave to him. Or now you had to running with the law, and now the law is looking at this and news coverage, and it's like, oh, because of this one kid right here, because of Billy, now we can't. Now everybody's gonna look at this all differently and whatnot. Even though if this kid would have had prior care and prior knowledge of how to use it, then it wouldn't be so bad. But back to the whole thing with the Denver situation. Denver became the first city in the nation to effectively decriminalize mushrooms after an early vote deficit Tuesday night. Early Wednesday, final unofficial results late afternoon showed a reversal of fortune with Initiative 301 to set narrowly with 50.6% of the vote. The total stands at 89,320 votes in favor and 87,341 against, a margin of 1,979. The Denver election division will continue accepting military and overseas ballot, but typically these numbers are small. The results will be certified May 31st. And wait, there was a lot. All right. The Denver vote attracted national attention, while efforts afoot to get psilocybin-related measures on the ballot in Oregon and California in 2020. Denver hosted its first ever U.S. popular vote in the matter, according to organizers. An earlier effort in California failed last year to qualify this ballot. And I'm not going to lie, the way it's looking is like, dang, Denver's trying to become the new Copenhagen.
Well, I think Denver. Shout out to Denver, to the whole state of Colorado, because I feel like we're still working on medical marijuana.
They don't have anything else
We're
to do.
still working on medical grade weed.
What you mean?
They don't have anything else to do. It's Colorado.
Bye. Skiing, Aspen, hello.
You can't ski all the time. It gets old.
Kobe went there.
Then, I mean, we're still on medical
He
marijuana
visited.
and they're already on shrooms.
Yeah,
Here's the one thing that seems like I'm noticing is that they really think mental health is the only area that this can be maybe utilized at
Well, that's
scale,
the number
with
one
regard to
area.
mental health.
That's
I
the
mean,
number one area
psychedelics,
that they regard
psyche.
psychedelics.
Yeah.
Versus trying to, because what we do with drugs is we say, well, physically it hurts you. Well, no, it don't. Like we seen with marijuana what physically it does, not mentally. Physically, what marijuana can do for you.
Which is?
Well,
Pain
for people
relief.
in pain relief,
Anxiety suppression.
and it's the same thing with psychedelics. Now, the problem is what people don't understand with psychedelics is that they put them in every single drug that you use. So if you take too many Tylenol, you will begin to hallucinate.
Yep.
I did it on accident. One day I got home, I had cut my hand wide open. I still got the gash in the middle of my hand. I cut my hand wide open. So they told me I had like a little cream. It was an antibiotic. They didn't tell me that when you use certain antibiotic creams, not to take anything else. But I was in pain because it was literally from the whole middle of my hand. Playing basketball.
I would say, what was you doing?
I was playing basketball on the outside court, which is why I don't hoop outside no more. And I ended up falling on like a rock, and it went directly through my hand. Ugh. And I got home, and I just went, my hand, and I had to pop the top, and I put, my hand hurt. I'm in pain. Popped a couple of joints, Tylenol. I drank some juice. I put that cream on my hand, and my hand started getting numb like immediately. So like I sat down on the couch. I probably sitting down maybe like an hour and a half watching TV, scrolling through the channels, and all of a sudden like everything just started changing. I'm like,
But so you saw a unicorn?
high?
I believe it.
Stupid high. At the time, like I'm thinking it might have been a side effect from the cream because cream wasn't mine. It was my mama's cream. But
So you just came with stuff and put on random cream on your hand. And
my mama told me like this particular cream, because my mom has very, very sensitive skin and she's allergic to a lot, so she can't go outside during pollen season because her skin will begin to crack like down to the meat. Like she super allergic to everything. So like I'm putting this cream on. I didn't know the side effects of this cream.
Why would you even put cream on a split
Because
hand anyway?
it was an antibiotic cream, so I didn't want my hand to get infected. Because when her skin cracks, it cracks to the meat, so she has to put it on the skin, like so it doesn't get infected. They don't tell you that they put this stuff in everything. They don't tell you that they put stuff like this, certain doses of stuff like this in lotions.
Well,
in
no, but I think
drinks.
they do tell you not to take but so much.
Yeah, and they tell you, use it in doses.
But I always overdo those doses.
If I'm gonna be high, like what you mean? You tell me I can't put on a certain amount of lotion or I'm gonna be high?
So like,
That's a good point.
but I mean, And the weird thing about it is like, just like you guys were talking about earlier was like, say for example, like, oh, the whole Steve Harvey thing of no sleep. To be honest, like if you go through sleep deprivation, it's no
You
different
hallucinate,
from,
right?
Yeah,
Right.
it's no different
Yeah.
from like actually tripping or like going through like a psychedelic trip, because in a sense, like you're stopped, like when you sleep, you're being able to replenish your serotonin levels, your serotonin and a whole bunch of other like neural chemicals in your head and stuff like that. But
And
the
your
thing about-
body creates these things naturally.
And
So
then-
all you do is just you induce the balance that your body has by taking. If you overindulge in mushrooms,
Yeah.
you'll trip for days.
like you're getting a
Yeah,
whole
I
lot of
heard.
serotonin.
Like it's
in
bad.
your
Bad.
And it's not. It depends on where you are. But like I went the first time I tried like stuff like this was I tried acid.
Don't try this.
And you
Why
a
you
lot of
try
these things
acid?
because when you're in college,
I thought those old school
Psychedelic.
drugs.
I've been in college,
Boom.
well, hey
an
look,
epiphany.
I tried acid.
living on campus.
And
tried
and,
ecstasy?
and nobody.
No.
I tried acid. I was in the room, like kicking it with some people, and I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Well, I don't even feel nothing. This is the same thing that people do with edibles too. They say they don't feel it,
Yep.
so you try to do it again. I didn't do it again. I drunk some Henny, and
Whoa,
lit you
you
up.
crazy, bro.
and
You
look,
crazy.
and
Crazy.
my partner had me on camera like. He said I was just running in. I was outside campus because we was in the building in the middle of the campus. And he was like, "Yeah, bro, you just outside like trying to race people with no shoes on."
Damn.
Bro.
But it was nobody outside. I was literally outside racing myself, like talking to myself with no
I
shoes
believe
on.
it. I
Where
believe it.
is this video now?
Don't do that.
Facts.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Facts. I would love.
Psychedelics are not bad. But just like everything else that we do or put into our body, when you do it too much or you overindulge, it will become deadly.
Yeah.
Of course.
Everything is like that. If you eat too much chocolate, you'll die. If you drink too much water, you'll die.
Yeah,
if you eat
facts.
too much meat, you'll die. If you eat too many greens, you'll die.
Okay,
If you
so
eat
my
soy,
question.
you'll die.
My question is, so we're just using, this is yet another example of medical marijuana that doesn't really help. It just kind of pacifies.
Not really.
Not
No, it
necessarily.
Not really.
I wouldn't compare marijuana to shrooms.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
you
wouldn't.
You can't do that in all honesty.
Because marijuana is used to treat cancer patients.
Think about it like
is.
this: weed is like marijuana is a psychoactive. This is a psychedelic. Like when you smoke marijuana, maybe the first time, depending on the individual, you may get some psychedelic induced like things, like certain things that may simulate a psychedelic experience.
But a lot of the time, it'll just relax you.
yeah.
I know, and if you think about what the treatment is the best for, like people have chronic pain, that it's an incurable disease. It's not going away. Fibromyalgia, or excuse me, MS, or even people with lupus. And anytime you have a chronic illness, it's not going away anyway. So the question is, am I going to use medical grade treatments, which have lots of side effects, most of which are sedation? Like if you take most prescription medications for pain, you're asking to go to sleep, or you're asking to become just out of it for a long
Take
time.
too many, you'll die.
So weed is an alternative for situations, I think, especially when there is no alternative because I have an incurable condition. So, I don't think it's a question of calling it a miracle. People do say that, but it's not about it being a miracle. It's about it being a better alternative to what you get at the hospital. Because what the doctor gives you, if you can afford it, is usually going to have you just out of it for...
And it's
Doesn't
too
weed the same
much.
thing?
No,
Like this,
no.
the
It's
thing
just
about
pain relief.
the thing about
Plus,
medical medicines is that you could buy one pill that has about 50 different types of
Side
things
effects.
that can kill you in a pill. So you telling me if I take either of these things alone, I die? Why you think I want to take this pill and do the same thing when I can just smoke this weed and be
plus-
better?
Right.
And plus, with some
Or
of the,
at least not because you're not getting rid of MS, but
Right.
at least you feel better. You'll be able to function because the pain starts here, and then you feel it wherever you feel it at. So if it starts here and you can relax this, everything else will begin to relax.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with psychedelics. Psychedelics create moments that typically would be
enlightenment,
unreal.
or like enlightenment periods.
So, what you perceive as pain on a psychedelic might be pleasure on a psychedelic.
It helps change
Yeah,
the perception that you go through. And it's like, say for example, like, and the whole thing with this talk is just to like give people awareness, not to
Yeah.
be like, all right, don't just say for example, if you see this, just be afraid.
Don't
of
just
it.
go out there and eat no
Research
shrooms.
it.
That ain't what we said.
Because even for me, like when I decided to do this, it wasn't something that I'm going to be like, yeah, I'm doing this to be lit. It was like, look, to be honest, one, I'm trying to learn more about myself. Two, I'm trying to figure out the truth. And three, many years and many times of our civilization, thanks to my culture as well as just learning about other cultures at best, we've been using holistic methods such as using cannabis, such as using opioids, and using magic mushrooms, our ancestors for thousands of years. It's just that now, since we're coming up to human like progression and what else, now we're looking at these drugs and looking at them like, oh, okay, our ancestors just used them. We're just not in the moment of them because we haven't been able to utilize them like these guys have. And just like he said, it's not going to technically cure it. But at
No.
the same time, what it's supposed to let you do is that, all right, now you have the power within yourself to at least cope with this and make it better. Where it's like, all right, if you have PTSD or you have some sort of mental problem and you take this psychedelic, it's not going to be like, okay, one touch.
I have no
it's done.
PTSD. Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
all right, now you're being able to go in and actually, all right, let me figure out why I go through this. Let me figure out how to heal myself through this. Just not like, just
And I think part of the reason there's so much miseducation is because people do use things recreationally. People always abuse something, no matter what it is, like no matter what the tool is. So there'll be plenty of people who decide that they just really want to see if they can get to Disneyland again because they had a great experience there,
Yep.
and will take shrooms when
if it's
or
cheaper.
marijuana or whatever.
sure it
But there are
is.
definitely people who have a genuine condition, in the same sense that people can abuse Adderall or can abuse anything. But just to remember, this is decriminalization. So they have not legalized it. They have not opened the floodgates
They
to
just
mass production. They just
decriminalized it.
decriminalized it, meaning we're not
just
And that's where it's
taking people to jail
That's where
for this.
that. And what's so funny about this is like, alcohol is illegal.
Yep.
Right.
And tobacco.
It's legal to smoke cigarettes. It's legal to
Yeah.
smoke Black and Milds and cigars. It's also legal to go to your doctor to get medicine that will kill you.
At
Yeah.
one point, it was legal to get crack. I mean, like crack cocaine wasn't
Yeah, if the
even all
doctor
that
gives
big.
it to you, it's legal. If you get it somewhere else, it's not.
It's
Yeah.
that don't make
What
sense
doctor
to
is
me.
prescribing crack?
No,
I mean,
not
no,
crack.
not like.
I'm about to say, wait, that's a
not
whole
like
other
that.
story.
Like, back in the 80s, like
Prescription
when crack-
medication. Although I would argue Adderall is pretty close to crack.
I mean, like, yeah,
It is.
It's pretty much like
It
legal
is.
meth, really. But then, like, back in the 80s, like, during the Ronald Reagan era and stuff like that, I mean, crack cocaine to a certain point, like, when you were getting caught with crack, I mean, it didn't really was like, oh, you got caught with crack? Oh, we're going to put you in the slammer. I mean, like, they weren't going to do you mad hard with with the charges.
Not early.
Yeah.
Not early. That became something later when they criminalized it. But why isn't alcohol criminalized?
I mean, it was prohibition.
Because the
But that was
bail industry.
1920.
Look
That's
at
because the
this.
country was
But
broke.
you saw what happened, though.
Well, when you make that much money off one thing, everybody make it.
Right.
it was-
That's why when I see a lot of these alcohol countries that say they 200 years old, I'm like, "Cuz, no, you're not."
Look, 119 million Americans use prescription drugs. Nearly half of all Americans over the age of 12 take prescriptions for pain relief, sedation, stimulation. That's a huge number.
That's
a
a
very
lot
big
of
number.
people. It's 300 million people in this country.
right. So when it's about a third.
Everybody's doped up.
That's a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of people that's being doped up on the regular. Like if you've ever seen like my mom doing chemo, if you've ever like volunteered or watched people that have cancer come out of chemo, like right after chemo, they look high. Like my mama be high. Like high. Like on an irregular type level. Like
Yeah.
whatever she be on, if I was the type to be high, I want to hit her that. Because it looked crazy. Like
Yeah.
where I grew up, I seen people like do heroin and do crack in my face.
Whoa.
And the way they look, but this is something that the doctor giving her. So I'm like, hold on, this cool, but like this illegal?
Yeah. And they said people who take prescriptions take on average 4.
That's
That
gonna
is
have a pill for everything. It's a
insane.
conspiracy.
Well, you need a pill because of that pill, and then another one because
Yeah,
of those two.
you,
and
you
another
basically
one
need 2
Yeah.
pills to keep you alive and 2 pills to kill you. So you take 2 pills to kill you first and then 2 pills to keep you alive before you go to sleep. So you don't die in your sleep.
But out of all these diseases or all these conditions people report about, so there's pain, obviously, which is usually joint and back pain, dementia, heartburn, diabetes, hypertension, obesity, ADHD. What else is on here that people take prescriptions for? The top 12 is low testosterone.
That is too funny.
What?
And I'm like, that just
Yeah.
jumps
you
out.
probably put
out of
Viagra
all
on
these
that.
other
Yeah,
things.
but if you take too much Viagra, it'll kill you.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like if you take more than 2, it can kill you.
You don't want to go out like that.
All
Like
right,
that's
so
crazy.
Before we anybody got anything else?
I mean, it's been a big
I mean,
week.
we talk about
Kim Kardashian.
these folks.
No.
Yeah, we
so-
we should get into that
What?
because I want to know where all the gangsters at. I said this before the show started. I want to know where y'all at. I want to know where all these woke folks at, where all these Black Lives Matter folks at. I want to know where all the pro everything, where are all y'all people at? Like, it is getting annoying watching these women and these men like get beat in public around groups of people and nobody does anything.
Nobody's trying to be the
That
hero.
is annoying to me because it's happening in places where I'm not at, so I can't do nothing. We haven't seen anything like that happen in Atlanta in a long time. Like where somebody got beat and like we was there to see it. It don't happen like that. Like the last time it keeps occurring, and I think they keep showing it to us to test. Do something. Like when Rodney King happened, they put that on TV for a reason. They filmed the whole thing to see what people was gonna do. All they did was burn down half a city. Ain't no cops get beat up. 3 cops died. That was it. They beat this man to sleep. Like he couldn't even defend himself. And then they gave him a bunch of money and was like, my fault.
Right. Well, and this came up because there's a new recording of Sandra Bland released this week.
Oh, yeah,
I saw something about that. What is
Man,
it?
look.
It was like the tape. Like
Man,
she actually.
so what it is the recording that she told him, I'm recording myself. And then they beat her, slapped the phone out of her hand. And then we, like, look at what happened. Where y'all at? Where are all the Black Lives Matter people that was in her city? All these people that said they knew her. Why y'all ain't pull up on the police station? What was y'all doing? Y'all
we're
was
not going to
scared.
encourage them to start a
Everybody's
war.
about clout now.
These folks have declared war on us. Like, we could say they haven't. We could say it be a few. Mm-hmm. Well, then where the good cops at?
So here's what I'll say to that point though, is that there is such a code of honor in so many different professions, and like legally speaking, there's police immunity granted for cops that are on duty if they act in good faith. Oftentimes they can't be found culpable for wrongdoing, but very rarely do you hear anybody else also just say, "Hey, I'm a cop." That don't make sense to me. I would never do that. That was too much, and that
we
lack
had
of
one
outrage
cop in the last year to come out and say it, and somebody called him and beat him. Came out last year. It was a New York cop that came out a couple years ago. He wrote a book.
Oh yeah.
They threatened him. He said somebody pulled a gun on him. Like some cops pulled a gun on him, tried to kill him. Somebody beat him up. Like, you telling me that if I wanted to go into a profession where I'm supposed to protect people and I actually want to protect them, but I see you doing wrong and I call you out for it, I can die for that?
Yeah.
I mean,
You gonna threaten me for that?
That's any genre. That's like whistleblowing. We still be
and
doing
the
one thing, you're doing something
is-
else.
The problem is that when people become scared, don't tell me that you're here to do good for me, but you scared to do good for me. That's whack. Don't do that. I'd rather you just be
just
Trump.
don't show up.
Be Trump. Be Trump. Say you don't like me. Call me names. Insult me in public the way he do that. But don't tell me you're here to help me. And then when I need help and somebody beating me to death, you disappear. Because where y'all at? If y'all supposed to be here to protect and serve, don't come and beat me and leave. Like, that's what they doing. They beating us and they leaving. And it's not us that's doing something about it. Like, getting into the Kim K thing. As much work as people have been doing in the field of trying to get people out of jail. Van Jones, Al Sharpton say he been doing this work for 50 years. Al Sharpton ain't got a damn person out of jail.
He got a lot of photo ops. He got a lot of photo ops.
Yep, but he got a whole bunch of photo ops of himself in the crib taking pictures of him getting skinny.
But so there's different levels to this, right? Like what we're talking about as far as Sandra Bland goes, that's police misconduct and police violence. That's a very different area. And the way that our country is set up, it's meant to be that way on purpose. There is no such thing as a broad sweeping reform. You're going to have to conquer each demon piece by piece by piece. So, and Kim K has not touched this. And this is not an easy area to touch. Just police on community interaction. Not an easy area to touch at all.
Right.
Because police have that immunity at a constitutional level that the Supreme Court upheld. That's what makes it hard, for one. For two, because of all the laws around what you have to do when you're confronted by a police officer, which Know Your Rights is a big nonprofit, and they talk to you about exactly what your rights are. They change in every state. They change sometimes on the county level, whether or not you have to show your ID or you don't, whether or not the police have to present you with evidence or they don't, whether or not you can be detained for a certain amount of time or not. Like, it's all very different. It's all very local, and that makes it all very confusing to fight. And it would have to be fought on a piece by piece by piece basis. People are upset with the Sandra Bland situation because they said, why wasn't this made public earlier? Like, why wasn't this video shown at the beginning of the investigation? It's old.
4 years.
Yeah, and it was a 2015 traffic stop, but it's like.
But they're talking about this video like it's a different video.
It's a new video. It's never been shown before that she recorded their own interaction.
It's
hers, yeah.
But everything that you saw on that cop video is exactly what happened.
But it's a different angle, though. I'll admit this: when the cop is right here and the gun's right here and the camera's right here,
and you can see
it is like a different.
You can feel it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with Castile when this girl was recording it.
Yeah.
And she put the camera on the dude and he pulled the trigger.
Yeah.
I watched that video last week and it's getting super dark, but I watched that video of that young boy that got killed in the car. I think they say he was like 19. And the cops pulled up on him like, "What are you doing here?" He was like, I live here. Sir, don't move. I'm not moving. Like, I'm not moving. He got a gun. And the dude had his hands on the steering wheel. Like, It's stuff that it'll bring tears to your eyes when you watch it, but they show it to us for a reason. Like, they show it to us for a reason. Like, do something. Do something. They waiting on somebody to do something, and nobody's going to. All the people that did something, they all dead. They all gone. Now, all we can do is say, okay, it got to be a better way for us to do something.
Yeah, it can't keep coming down to these individual cases and how these individual cases are handled, because even if someone goes behind bars like Laquan McDonald's murder, that's one person. The law still allow for police to act in good faith and essentially be found immune from any wrongdoing. And the laws still enable all these different things. So it's like, it's not enough to me that specific people are punished, although that is important. Like, I think at minimum, we should be able to have some sort of a retribution in court and not say that, well, you can't sue this officer, you can't sue this officer. They're just going to be put on leave. I do think we need that. We also have to consider why it's so easy to do that in the first place, if that makes sense.
So we don't have time to unpack this because y'all open something at like the latest hour.
Yeah.
So we don't have time to unpack this. But
Shout out Kim K though.
We will. Oh, good grief!
Don't be mad. She doing.
We will resume this on Monday. So we will see everybody on Monday, same time, same place, on the Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice.